DC Tyrant. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 351, The Court of Owls. At night, Gotham was still shrouded in dark clouds. The lingering dark clouds oppressed the entire city. However, even in such an oppressive city, the whole city could not help but stir up waves. The lively voices of discussion spread along the streets and alleys, like waves, spreading and spreading. The reason, of course, started from Bruce's announcement on the spot that he was Batman. It was only 10 hours from day to night, and the streets and alleys were already full of thrown newspapers. Almost all newspaper offices rushed to produce countless newspapers, with Bruce's appearance and Batman's appearance on the newspapers. The whole city fell into another kind of panic turmoil, whether it was the Gotham City government, the police department, the ordinary people, or the underworld gangs, all caused a violent reaction. At this moment, the Gotham building, a white conference room, the bright incandescent lights above illuminated the conference room, reflecting everyone's faces. More than 30 people were in this grand conference room. Several people sat at the dark oval round table in the middle. Shareholders who controlled more than 5% of Wayne Enterprises shares and had the right to vote, propose, and make decisions were mostly seated on both sides and were the heads of other Gotham families. Of course, more shares were in the hands of the Wayne family, so the Wayne family always had sovereignty. Badi was wearing a close-fitting suit, and his figure was as solid as a mountain. With his back to everyone, he gently poked the aromatherapy oil lamp on the table with his fingers. The wick of the rather retro aromatherapy oil lamp was poked by him, and the flames rose. Wisps of invisible aromatherapy smoke spread from the meeting, making every shareholder in the meeting room, who was nervous and ready to ask questions, subconsciously relax a little. Chairman Bruce, are you not going to explain to us? If this is just a game of yours, then it's not fun. Please quickly clear yourself of your identity as Batman. We are all businessmen, not the Dark Knight who saves justice. Please don't joke like that. The topic was brought up by a thin middle-aged white man with glasses sitting at the side. The rest of the people began to speak one after another, but most of them were shareholders who were not sitting at the main seat. Even if they were not sitting at the main seat at the table, those who were sitting and listening were multimillionaires and billionaires that ordinary people could not afford. The shares they owned were enough for them to come here and have the right to ask about everything about Wayne Enterprises. Bruce's behavior had seriously affected their interests. It was difficult for them to predict how Wayne Enterprises would go because of this incident. As for what would happen to Batman, it was none of their business. They were businessmen, and they cared about their own interests. Bruce, if you can't give a perfect explanation, please step down from the position of chairman for Wayne Enterprises. Finally, an old man with white hair, wrinkled face, and a cane sitting at the dark oval table came up. He owns a lot of Wayne Enterprises shares, and is also the head of the Kane family, one of the 4 major families in Gotham. In Badi's memory, the family once produced a very famous figure, Batwoman. Many people around nodded in agreement silently. It was related to their interests, and they could not let a playboy play such a game. Because Alfred, who was quite capable, handled any company decision on his behalf, there was no problem. But now, they were almost scared to death by Badi's play. Badi gently fanned the incense towards his face with his hand, and the fragrance penetrated into his nose, making him close his eyes and squint slightly. This kind of hypnotic gas used for emergency use was created by him using the Scarecrow's fear gas, deleting and modifying the ingredients, and combining it with the huge database in his mind to transform the aromatherapy. It was enough to make Bruce's body without any superpowers, combined with Badi's understanding of the human mind and body, hypnotize many Wayne Enterprises shareholders, and give them psychological hints in their hearts. Badi turned around, his eyes as deep as the whirlpool of the sea, scanning each shareholder one by one, and said, "Here, how many are from the Court of Owls?" Badi's eyes were scrutinizing, and he scanned the expressions of everyone without leaving any trace. As soon as these words came out, almost 90% of the people in the audience changed their faces slightly, and their hearts shuddered with a little panic. But everyone was like an old fox, and they all froze their bodies for a moment and recovered on the surface. But their breathing was rapid, their blood circulation was accelerated, and the aroma of the aromatherapy penetrated into them from the tip of their noses. I'm kidding. Badi suddenly laughed again. He pulled out the chair, sat down, and looked at everyone with a playful look. The person who was just told the key point breathed a sigh of relief. Between this kind of spirit and relaxation, his spirit was already relaxed, and his consciousness began to gradually blur, and he was about to be hypnotized by Badi. What is the Court of Owls? Is this a mafia organization? Chairman, you can't play tricks anymore. Everyone in the Court of Owls breathed a sigh of relief, and looked at each other in the corners of their eyes. Even the others who were not in the Court of Owls began to be confused. Suddenly, at the moment when everyone was not mentally prepared, he sat on the chair and knocked on the table with his hand. Dong. The deep sound of dong emanated from the dark oval table, as if a sound wave had drilled into their heads, making them drowsy. Immediately, everyone in the audience fell into a hazy feeling of just waking up and wanting to take a nap. Tomorrow night, gather all the members of the Court of Owls at Wayne Enterprises, in the secret cave of the Court of Owls. Badi's face was relaxed, his eyes were as deep as the whirlpool of the sea, mysterious and fascinating, attracting all the shareholders to look at him with hazy eyes. His fingers tapped on the dark oval table, which was smooth and reflected the chandelier above his head. His fingers kept playing, like playing a piano, with a soft sound, like the sound of waves and the sound of grasslands gently brushing against green grass. Snap! Suddenly, Badi snapped his fingers. Wayne Enterprises is fine. I already have a comprehensive plan, but I just didn't have time to tell you. The day after tomorrow, I will make a detailed plan. This is an opportunity for us to cooperate deeply with the government and expand more business. Please look forward to it. Wayne Enterprises will not let anyone down. Badi stood up and said, his eyes met with the shareholders one by one in a very polite manner. And all the shareholders, without any feeling, had recovered, as if in the blink of an eye. They blinked their eyes and heard Bruce's answer. Continuing from the past, although some shareholders have some objections, they can only wait for the chairman's so-called plan the day after tomorrow, as Wayne is still the Wayne family's company. Badi took a step and walked out of the meeting room first. Alfred was already at the door, standing straight like an English butler. Seeing Badi walk out of the meeting room, he followed, took out a tablet from his back, and said, Master, based on the clues you gave, it is possible that the Joker has been found. Chapter 352 Batman Attacks. Are you so unsure? In the morning, after announcing himself as Batman and meeting Clark, Badi had carefully read all the collected Joker information. He needed to reduce the crime rate in the whole of Gotham, so the first thing to deal with was the Joker, who often escaped from prison to play games with Batman, but Batman was reluctant to kill him. Badi took the tablet and his brain began to think and calculate what game the Joker wanted to play this time. And this time, after watching the tablet, all kinds of clues began to emerge and calculate in Badi's brain. Gotham TV headquarters. Badi held the tablet between his fingers and raised it to Alfred. After Alfred took the tablet, he was puzzled. Isn't this too fast? Just by reading the Joker's information and the information collected this time, he already knew the location where the Joker was going to play the game. In the past, although his master was also smart, he didn't react so quickly when facing the Joker. Because the Joker did not act according to the rules and was as smart as Bruce, Bruce was unpredictable. Alfred frowned and asked his doubts, is it too fast this time? Are you sure? Sure. Alfred, go prepare the Batfighter. Badi nodded. As for the Joker's destination and behavior, based on the clues that Batman had found before, Badi was able to guess where the Joker's next destination would be. For the original Batman, it might take several mistakes and being led several times before he could find the real destination in the confrontation with the Joker and then have a big showdown with the Joker. But for Badi, this kind of calculation and guessing of clues is just a matter of looking at it a few times. With Badi's wisdom, vision, and computing power, the existence of the main body is enough to calculate the atomic arrangement, molecular formation, and even the spiritual particles, soul thoughts, and thoughts of a person. Therefore, because the external environment, emotions, and psychological environment are all calculated, he can predict a person's choice of the future. Although Bruce's ability will decline with his body now, the Joker is just a mental patient. The Joker, despite his twisted, unpredictable, and cleverness, has a purpose. He wants to play games with Batman and watch him struggle with his humanity. This is the Joker's purpose. In the Joker's original plan, there were several plans, waiting for Batman to take the bait and play with Batman. Batman identified them one by one, so of course he didn't play with the other plans. The last item in the Joker's plan was for Batman to reveal his identity and then have fun. But how is it possible? The Joker would understand how much trouble it would take to reveal his identity, and how crazy he would be, and how stupid it would be for Batman to reveal his identity, facing troubles from the government, the Gotham underworld, the people, the police station, etc. No one would be so stupid. Even if the Joker was crazy, he would know. It's hard for the Joker to be surprised by anything, but this direct disclosure of his identity really surprised the Joker and made him feel very interesting. This scene was also caused by him. He made many newspapers to tell the whole of Gotham that Bruce was Batman, and Batman added fuel to the fire with his behavior, directly confirming Batman's identity. So the last option, the most interesting game, after revealing the identity, was set up by the Joker and started. This is not difficult to predict. Instead, it is more important to be able to see that the previous few are boring trap clues. Then, among the most hidden clues, find the place that best fits the environment, the Joker's psychology, the playful spirit of the mentally ill, and Batman's playful intention to reveal his identity. This cannot be speculated. It is not difficult for Badi. Ordinary people can just wash and sleep. In fact, the last one is the most interesting. Badi stopped. His close-fitting suit supported the promotion of his figure. His eyes looked down from the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Wayne building to the whole Gotham. The sky was covered with dark clouds, covering the whole Gotham. Standing here, Badi felt that the dark clouds were oppressive and pressed down towards Gotham, as if the phrase dark clouds press down on the city and are about to destroy it could describe how heavy the clouds over Gotham were. There were crazy lights flashing under the oppression below, and neon lights on the weird gothic buildings flickered a little light in the darkness, adding a bit of panic. No matter how bright the neon lights were, Gotham would become dark, because of the Joker and his people. Ding. Suddenly, Badi seemed to hear the sound of a beam of light. On an old building in the distance, there was a light, like a pillar of heaven, suddenly rising from the ground, directly poking a bright circle in the gloomy clouds. Above the clouds, in the circle of light, a bat symbol was flying in the light. Seeing this scene, Badi's heart was slightly touched. Bat symbol. Does this mean something happened to Gordon? Badi raised his eyebrows and looked into the distance, deep as the sea. Then, a huge roar of engines came in from the floor-to-ceiling windows, shaking the air and ringing in his ears. A bat fighter, like a sharp blade in the dark night, slowly descended in front of his eyes, blocking his view of the bat logo. Badi opened the floor-to-ceiling window and jumped directly from a height of 300 meters. The cold wind scraped the skin on his face like a knife. He jumped to the bat fighter and landed right in the cockpit with the glass cover slowly opened. He moved safely, supported his shoulders, adjusted his sitting position, and the glass cover slowly closed in the cold wind. Master, your jump from 300 meters high just now was so handsome. I need to save your sperm first. Alfred's voice came out. He felt that he should leave a descendant for the Wayne family. The next time the master slipped, he might go to see the old man. Badi took the Batman equipment next to him with an indifferent face and began to put it on. Thank you, I need to change clothes. Please hang up the surveillance. On a dilapidated residential building, a huge bat logo was reflected in the dark clouds that went straight up to the sky, as if there was a huge bat flying in the clouds above Gotham. The bat light was pulled down here to notify Batman. Gordon was thin, his hair had begun to turn grey, and his previous righteous look had disappeared. Now, there was only gnashing of teeth and worry on his face, and anger was deep in his eyes. His finger bones were white, he clenched his fist, and his thumb pressed tightly on a playing card. The playing card was twisted by his thumb, and a clown-like figure inside was grinning and laughing. His daughter, Barbara, was captured by the clown. He took a break yesterday, and the day before yesterday, as mentioned in the introduction of the work. Chapter 353, Game Over, Joker. On the dilapidated residential building, the bat lights were like pillars in the sky, reflecting a huge bat. Gordon held the Joker playing card tightly in his hand, looked up at the sky, and expected Batman to fall from the sky. "What do you want to talk to me about?" Suddenly, Batman's low voice came from behind him. Batman, wearing bat equipment, transformed into Batman, stepped on the dilapidated water tower on the roof, his bat cape fluttering in the wind, looking down at Gordon. He landed lightly from the invisible bat fighter in the sky, and according to Batman's memory, he found a place where Gordon couldn't see him as usual, then stepped forward, his posture lifted, his cape fluttering in the dark, and asked Gordon with a mysterious and majestic condescending look. Of course, it was also because it was on the way, and Gotham Batman would inevitably deal with Gordon in the future, and even Gotham would be handed over to him in the future, so he passed by and saw Gordon. Barbara was captured by the Joker. "I know she is Batgirl." Gordon gritted his teeth and looked back at Batman with a broken heart. It was hard to predict what would happen to his daughter who fell into the hands of a psychopath like the Joker. "Save her, please." Gordon raised the big trump card in his hand, with tears in his eyes, and a request full of hope. Badi looked at the vicissitudes of life in the Dark Knight, and then turned to look at the Joker's playing card. Then he thought that the Joker's destination was the TV bureau, and he had some answers. He said in a low voice, "Go back and watch TV. I will save her." After Badi finished speaking, he jumped back and disappeared from the darkness. From this dilapidated residential building, he spread his bat cape and began to fall. At this time, in the dark street, a Batmobile was at the far end of the road, like a ghost in the Dark Knight, spraying azure tailwing engine acceleration, and in an instant it was speeding over. Gordon was about to say that he was also going to save his daughter, but before he could say anything, Batman jumped off the building. This speed was too fast to react. Gordon's heart skipped a beat. He ran to the edge of the rooftop and looked over. He saw Batman falling right on the driver's seat of the Batmobile, and then he casually closed the hood of the Batmobile. In his shocked eyes, the Batmobile went away in the dark night. Not long after, it turned into a small dot, shining in the dark night. "Master, do you really think you can fly?" The speed just now exceeded 120 kilometers per hour. "You can't just jump down just to look cool." Alfred was terrified. In the past, the Master was very powerful, with a human body at the limit, but he couldn't do such a thrilling behavior. If the speed of the car and the body fell a little different, and he almost fell on the driver's seat, it would be over. Even if he fell onto the driver's seat, it would be equivalent to being hit by a car at a functional speed of 120 kilometers. If it weren't for the cushioning of the Kevlar armor and the driver's seat, he would have been turned into a meat pie. Just imagine it. "I calculated everything. It's safe." Badi straightened his waist, and his spine creaked. A comfortable feeling directly surged from the coccyx along the spine to his heart. With the cushioning of muscles and many devices, and the angles he calculated, this was just a warm-up. He used Bruce's human body to do and calculate things that were far more extreme than the original Batman. Some actions that seemed extremely thrilling to outsiders were within the safe range for him. Okay, you're woo-wee, you're awesome, you can do anything." Alfred was helpless and continued, "From what we've detected just now, the roof of the Gotham TV headquarters is already full of bombs, and there's no way to get in from there. Did you see which floor the Joker is on?" According to the surveillance footage and routes taken by the hackers, the Joker appeared on the 3rd, 6th, 7th, 10th, 15th, and 17th floors respectively. A group of guys from the Joker gang gathered on the 17th floor, so the Joker is on the 17th floor? Not necessarily. Find out which floor can be broadcast live, such as the news live broadcast room. Barbara has been captured, and the Joker will want the entire Gotham to see the true face of Batwoman, and maybe he will have to torture Barbara in front of the general public of Gotham. Okay, so he will broadcast live, which rules out the 17th floor. The 17th floor is where a group of leaders have a banquet, so they are being held hostage by the Joker gang. The 10th floor is the news live broadcast room, and the 15th floor is a TV drama broadcast management level, so it's possible that the Joker is there. Very good. Get ready to remotely control the Bat Fighter to cover me. I'll climb outside the building and find the Joker. You're not planning to jump off the building again, are you? I don't know. Batty said indifferently. Through the front windshield of the car, as sight has already seen the Gotham TV headquarters. The building is much shorter than Wayne Enterprises. There is no comparison. Batty stopped the Batmobile in a hidden place, crouched down, and observed two ruffian security guards in blue security uniforms at the door in a corner. The security guards looked bored, their hats were tilted, and they were shaking their batons. They didn't look like a security guard at all. The other one was more presumptuous. He just squatted in a corner and smoked marijuana, sitting on the ground and enjoying the psychedelic enjoyment. It seems that the whole building is controlled by the Joker gang. Notify Gordon to clean up the place in 5 minutes. Batty glanced at the door and said in the communicator. Then, he took 2 steps back, turned on the thermal imaging detection of the bat helmet, and 2 suction discs appeared on his hands. He began to climb up the wall, like a spider, climbing on the outside of the building. Every time he climbed a floor, Batty would place a small nerve gas inside, enough to paralyze all ordinary people on a floor, temporarily unconscious and unable to move. The 20th floor. In a dark room, a bright light fell from the roof, shining on Barbara, the Batgirl, who was wearing bat equipment and lying unconscious on the bed. She was lying unconscious on a shabby square table, sleeping like Snow White. And next to them, there were a large number of backstage live broadcast employees who were trembling and began to prepare for the live broadcast under the control of the pistols of several clown gangs. Headset ready. Camera ready. Cut off other broadcasting TV. You can start broadcasting. The employee in charge of the camera was trembling and shaking. The Joker was wearing a purple tuxedo with algae green hair that was specially trimmed and combed back. His pale face looked quite energetic. He gently pointed at the camera staff with his finger and pouted his lips and said, "Don't shake. Don't be afraid. I just want to use this method to notify the little bat to come and have a fun for the whole city." The Joker smiled and shook his finger at the camera staff, then turned around, combed his trimmed algae hair back with both hands, walked into the beam, and began his hosting career. With a snap of the Joker's fingers, the live broadcast began. The Joker's face immediately appeared on every TV in Gotham. Everyone knows that Bruce is Batman. I wonder how long it will take Batman to find me from now on. Little Bat, I'm looking forward to you. Now, let's play a game, Batgirl. Just as the Joker was hosting with a scalpel and slashing across Batgirl's face, suddenly, on the TV screen, a pistol quietly entered the frame and pointed at the Joker's temple. Game over, Joker. Chapter 354, Death of the Joker. Gotham. This day is an uncomfortably day. I'm watching the news report about what happened today when Bruce Wayne was Batman. Coincidentally, the whole of Gotham, who were watching TV at home, and the big screen outside the square, lit up with a burst of snowflakes, and then all of them showed the appearance of a clown. This is not unfamiliar to the people of Gotham, because the Joker and Bane have played this trick before, blacking out the TV screens of the entire city, making a big fuss, declaring war on the entire Gotham, and luring Batman out. When the Joker appeared on TV, whether it was watching TV at home or stopping on the street to watch the big screen, they couldn't help but think that the Joker was going to cause trouble. Especially before the true identity of Batman was announced by the Joker and admitted by Bruce. This is the Joker. He's going to go against Batman again. Will Batman attack this time? Can Bruce still appear freely? I hope Batman won't appear. There is no Joker in Gotham without Batman. Bruce is still roaming around Gotham unscrupulously? What's the use of the law? Almost the entire Gotham was watching what the Joker was going to do this time. What they cared about was not what the Joker wanted to do, but a kind of contradictory psychology, wanting to see if Batman was Bruce and whether he would appear again. The Joker grinned, laughing wildly. Everyone knows that Bruce is Batman. I wonder how long it will take Batman to find me from now on. Little Bat, I'm looking forward to you. Now, let's play a game, Batgirl. After he finished speaking, on the TV screen, a pistol quietly appeared in the screen, pointing at the Joker's temple. Batman's figure was like a ghost, sticking out from the darkness, holding a pistol, pointing at the Joker's temple. The Joker's scalpel was hovering over Batgirl's neck, at the aorta, flashing a sharp cold light under the light. Almost everyone in the city was shocked. Batman has appeared. Look, his chin is indeed like that playboy from Wayne Enterprises. It's him. The hair roots are the same. He is indeed Batman. In the city, heated discussions continue to rise. Many people took Bruce's old photos and compared them with the Batman on the screen. They found that the chins were indeed very similar, and the hair roots seemed to be arranged in the same way. The Joker was a little stunned. Ever since Bruce revealed his identity and Batman escaped his speculation, he felt stunned once. And now, just after the live broadcast, Batman has quietly and silently killed him, leaving him no reaction at all. It feels like Bruce can pinch him with a pinch. When did the little bat become so powerful? However, although Batman was unexpected to act so quickly, the Joker was a mental patient after all, and he didn't know what fear was. Feeling the cold muzzle of the gun on his temple, he still grinned and said in a funny and joking way, "No, no, no, the game has just begun." Suddenly, the camera shook. Although it was still shooting the Joker and Batman, it was tilted a lot, causing the audience in front of the TV to follow the camera and tilt their necks to watch. Now, the Joker gang and the original radio station staff have all fainted, their bodies twitched, and they fell stiffly to the ground. Badi had already designed a neurotoxin, and no matter ordinary people or members of the Joker gang, they had already been wiped out. Everyone in the entire building was already in a coma. Only the Joker was resistant to the toxin because of his physical condition, and Badi had already taken the antidote, so they were safe. HMM. The Joker tilted his eyes, grinned at his men, and shrugged. "It looks like it's really over. Then shoot me, kill me." The Joker grinned, and the scalpel in his hand gently scraped, and a small blood vessel on Batwoman's neck surged, and blood spurted out, shaking and dyeing the camera red. "Sorry little bat, my scalpel has laughing gas. If it can't be detoxified within half an hour, congratulations to this Batwoman. She will die laughing in front of the camera." Bat's face sank, his eyes were cold, and the gun was pointed at the Joker's temple. "Do you think I dare not kill you?" Bat's heart suddenly became cold. He didn't mind killing. As long as he didn't kill too many people, it wouldn't be inconsistent with Batman's original behavior. In some extremely difficult scenes, Batman would not kill people. He always restrained the devil in his heart. And Badi, as long as he didn't kill too many people, it wouldn't violate Batman's original wishes. He always calculated something to be considered a failure. He didn't shoot just now, because Barbara's aorta was too close to the scalpel. If he shot the Joker to death, the trembling reflex would cause the scalpel to cut the aorta, so he didn't shoot. The Joker almost laughed out loud, grinning at Batman. At any time, Batman was a puppet in his hands. He didn't dare to kill himself, didn't dare to release the devil in his heart, and he would always restrain Batman. He laughed and kept putting his temple to the muzzle of the gun, as if he wanted Batman to shoot urgently. "Come on, aim. You don't dare to kill me. Kill me and become the next me." Bang. What a joke. Kill you and become you? When the Joker laughed, the scalpel was 2 centimeters away from the aorta. Batman shot with a cold face, directly shooting through the Joker's temple. This shot almost made the whole Gotham City tremble in their hearts. Batman seemed to have turned into a demon, making the whole Gotham people sluggish. Really shoot. The Joker is dead. Badi stepped forward in time. When the Joker was about to fall down with his eyes dull, Badi reached out and pulled up the Joker's hand to prevent Barbara from being killed by the pistol's impact. He took out emergency items from his bat belt to stop Barbara's bleeding. After that, he picked up the scalpel in the Joker's hand and observed it carefully. He found that what the Joker said was right. It was poisonous. Badi's heart trembled. Barbara only had half an hour. Then, Badi didn't care about the live broadcast. He carried Barbara with one hand and ran towards the window and controlled the Batmobile remotely. With a crash, he broke the glass window on the 20th floor, and the glass fragments shattered and flew. Badi used the Batcape to make a simple cushioning parachute and fell directly towards the Batmobile that was driving automatically, putting Barbara in the passenger seat. Badi controlled the Batmobile and drifted around a corner. The blue engine under the tail wing accelerated and drove towards the Batcave. The sky was overcast. At this time, a red and blue figure suddenly shuttled through the sky with a sonic boom and suddenly fell towards the front of the Batmobile. Chapter 355 Superman, Nightwing, and I Know Saw. Superman was like a meteor, screaming through the dark clouds, and fell from the sky like a pillar. The entire Batmobile hit the indestructible Superman's body, and the front of the car was twisted and dented, and sparks kept flashing. Boom. The speeding Batmobile suddenly lifted up, as if it had hit a pillar of the sky, and the front of the car was completely dented, and sparks flashed. Badi was inside, and was shaken by the strong impact for a while. His body rushed forward suddenly, and his head almost hit the front windshield. He tightened his hands and tightly grasped the steering wheel, bursting with blue veins. He tightly controlled himself in the seat and stabilized himself. However, the shaking of his head was like a 10,000-ton water flow. It felt like his head was about to fly out, which was extremely uncomfortable. Barbara's body next to him was even more directly pressed against the front window, and her head was broken and bleeding. Badi and Barbara in the driver's seat were not wearing any seatbelts. This made both of them feel very uncomfortable. Barbara didn't know where her body was broken. Superman stood at the sunken front of the car, unmoved, looking at the Batmobile with a calm face. When the rear wing of the Batmobile was lifted up and ready to flip to a 75-degree angle, just when it was about to flip over his head, Superman pressed the body of the Batmobile with his hand, and with a bang, the Batmobile was pressed back to its original position. At this time, Badi and Barbara were in the seat and almost hit the front of the car. Badi was able to temporarily protect his body and was not injured, but Barbara was not so lucky. Her body was twisted into some strange shapes, and many bones were broken, and her internal organs were bleeding. Then, Superman's steel arm twisted the steel directly, and his fingers reached into the side of the windshield. With a twisting sound, the windshield of the Batmobile was directly torn by Superman's hands like tearing paper, revealing Badi and Barbara inside. Badi twisted his neck, straightened his shoulders, stretched his spine, adjusted the slightly misaligned bones, and looked at Superman in front of him with cold eyes. The black bat cape behind him rose with him. He stood up from the driver's seat and exchanged glances with Superman. Next time people put out the bat light, don't go. Put down this uniform and continue to be your playboy. Superman stared at Badi with a stern face. His tone was cold, and his red cape fluttered in the wind. You killed someone. This time I will spare you. There will be no next time. After Superman finished speaking, he looked at Badi deeply, turned around, and wanted to leave immediately. Badi's face was cold. His eyes were cold. Looking at Superman's back, the red cape fluttered in the dark night, and he said coldly, "This is my last warning to you, Clark Kent. Go back to your metropolis." Badi actually didn't think about doing anything else, nor did he want to go against Superman. He just followed Batman's last wish and completed Gotham into a bright city. His mission was done. He had no interest in conquering the Earth again. But it seemed that he came at the wrong time. It happened that Superman was interested in Batman. According to the original plot, it should be the time for the two to deal with each other and become the best partners. Batman certainly would not love and kill Superman as he did originally, and then become the best partner. That would be too time consuming and troublesome. But if Superman became an obstacle, he would not mind destroying this Superman once again. Superman's figure suddenly wanted to leave, and he turned around and looked at Batman. The eyes of the two people seemed to turn into needles in the dark night, piercing each other. You killed a person. Superman walked towards Batman with a solemn and angry face. He felt a little shocked that Batman knew his identity, but it was not something he couldn't know. What made him unbearable was that Batman directly shot and killed a person in front of the live broadcast of the entire Gotham. This was already an act that brought terror and fear to the people, which made him unbearable. I saved a person. I saved the lives of 120 people in Gotham TV, and you only care about me killing one person. Badi's face was stern. He pointed his finger at Barbara and said sternly, "She was poisoned, and she will die in 23 minutes. Because of your sudden appearance, she was injured, and several bones were broken. Tell me, do you want to stand here and argue with me? Discuss? Or do you get out of here and let me save people?" Superman glanced at Barbara with his azure eyes. In the blink of his eyes, he had already used his perspective to see Barbara's cellular reaction, which was going on in Barbara's body through the drastic changes in human cells. His eyes were slightly stern, and he turned to look at Badi. "I will always watch you. Don't wear this bad suit anymore." Superman took a step back, screamed on the spot, and rushed into the sky. "I said, you have no right to tell me what to do." Badi spoke, even though Superman had already flown into the sky, but Badi knew that Superman would hear it. This is Badi's warning to Superman. After Superman left, Badi called Alfred to control the Batplane, and came from the sky. He took Barbara on the Batplane, and returned to the Batcave first, leaving the rest of the Batmobile to Alfred. Badi carried Barbara into the Batcave. Barbara's body was already soft, and her hand and thigh bones were cracked to varying degrees. After Superman's obstruction, her injuries had begun to become serious, and the poison gas might even have penetrated into her bone marrow. In the center of the Batcave stood a dinosaur model. This was a dinosaur adventure park that Batman and Robin had participated in a long time ago. It was an original theme park built by Murray Hunter, and it was full of mechanical dinosaurs. Batman and Robin were invited to participate in the theme battle of survival with many dinosaurs. At that time, they defeated the villain Steve, who came to make trouble, so Batman collected a dinosaur and put it in the Batcave. This dinosaur was transformed by Batman again, and it was able to move, and it was still a considerable fighting force, just like a guard dog. Other people's dogs are dogs, and the ones in the Batcave are dinosaurs. At this time, behind the dinosaur, a man wearing a black tights, a blue V-shaped figure from his shoulders to his chest, and a mask covering his eyes appeared. He was Nightwing, the first generation of Robin. He had a falling out with Batman and set up his own business, but in many cases, when the two needed help from each other, they would do their best to help each other. This time, after Nightwing realized that something was unusual, he returned directly to Gotham to help. "Bruce, you've made a big mess." Nightwing held the dinosaur's big toe with his hand. His eyes were worried, and the corners of his mouth were raised. Badi glanced at Nightwing, his face gloomy, and he put Barbara into the medical room, and immediately began to draw blood for testing to find out the composition of nitrous oxide. With his knowledge, as long as the composition was tested, it would be enough to deduce the antidote and save Barbara. Chapter 356 Nightwing. The relationship between Batman and Nightwing, that is, Bruce and Dick Grayson, is actually similar to that between an adoptive father and an adopted son. Dick Grayson was originally an 8-year-old circus acrobat, the youngest member of the trapeze family, Flying Grayson. He was famous in the Gotham City Circus, and was the most watched trapeze artist in the area. Because the local gangsters were refused to extort protection fees from the circus director, they poured acid on the ropes used for the trapeze performance. During the performance, the rope broke before Dick jumped on it, and his parents, who were unaware of it, fell in front of Dick and died. Dick, who became an orphan, was adopted by Bruce Wayne, the real Batman, who was a philanthropist and well-known business owner who was present at the time. Bruce saw Dick's tragic experience and remembered his past, so he adopted him as his adopted son, but he accidentally discovered that his true identity was the mysterious hero Batman in Gotham City. So Bruce taught him the skills of fighting and investigation, and strictly trained his physical fitness, and trained him to be Robin. This is also Batman's first helper, the first generation of Robin. Robin, who had been doing this for quite a while, gradually grew up. At that time, Dick was in a rebellious period and wanted to prove that he was better than Batman. He was dissatisfied with Batman's overly cumbersome constraints and discipline as an elder. Batman, as an adoptive father, hoped that Dick could spend more time on other things. Of course, Batman didn't know how to be a qualified adoptive father at that time, so the two fathers and sons quarreled out of control. In the end, Batman fired Dick out of kindness, that is, he didn't let him continue to be Robin. Dick ran away from home in a rage, and ran to the city of Blairhaven next to Gotham City to do chivalry. Even so, every time he appeared as Robin and saved others, he would be asked where Batman was. So he couldn't stand it and decided to abandon the identity of Robin and use the identity of Nightwing to get out of Batman's shadow. This is the origin of Nightwing. In addition, Dick Grayson's family, up to the grandfather's generation, the Grayson family has a tradition of being made into killing puppets' claws by the Court of Owls. Bruce, I think you need me at this time. Nightwing spread his hands beside Batman, with a smile on his lips. Being able to help his adoptive father again made Nightwing feel warm. Nightwing's plan was this. Bruce admitted that he was Batman, and killed the Joker in front of the people of Gotham. Then, all Nightwing needed to do was put on the Batsuit, disguise himself as Batman, and let Bruce and Batman appear together, which was enough to clear Bruce's relationship with Batman. The people of Gotham would think that this was just a trick played by Bruce, the playboy, who deliberately admitted it out of boredom. Everything was simple. It would be able to cover up the fact that Batman killed the Joker. Otherwise, knowing for sure that Batman was Bruce would directly face prosecution from the city government, the country, the police station, and the court, and even Wayne Enterprises would be greatly affected. No need. Batman bent his spine and looked at the microscope. In Barbara's blood components, the cells had begun to be eroded by laughing gas. With his rich knowledge in his heart, he began to decipher the laughing gas virus within a few minutes. He didn't need to clear himself of the identity of Batman. Everything Batman did, every word and action, was calculated. Killing the Joker didn't hinder his actions. So do you want to go to jail? Bruce, the identity of Batman is enough to put you in jail for 400 years. Do you know how many crimes Batman is involved in? Murder, assault, torture, theft, breaking into a house without permission, robbery. Okay, very good. You have committed all the others except rape. Nightwing couldn't believe it. He followed Batman's steps and kept persuading him. He just couldn't believe it. Batman wanted to go to jail. Bruce, do you have any other plans? Tell me, I can help you. I'm still your Robin. Batman was speechless. Batman did have so many crimes, but most of them were erased by himself and not found by anyone. He took a step with a sullen face, took out a test tube, found penicillin, and a large part of drugs with albumin, 1, 2, globulin, triglycerides, total cholesterol, and alanine aminotransferase properties, adjusted the cooling box to -58 degrees, and began to synthesize a cleaning serum of nitrous oxide to resist depression. While gradually synthesizing the cleaning serum, Badi had a blank expression on his face and treated Nightwing with the same solemnity as Batman usually treated Nightwing. In the white chemical room, Badi did not answer and adjusted the cleaning serum with a sullen face, while Nightwing leaned against the corner of the wall uneasily, tapping the ground with his feet, looking very uneasy and restless, and kept approaching Badi from time to time, with a worried expression that could not be stopped no matter what. Done. Badi breathed a sigh of relief and finally saved Barbara. Killing the Joker was actually crossing a big line, and if Barbara could not be saved, I'm afraid that Batman would find it even more difficult to act because of rejection. He couldn't let Batman's behavior go further away from the original Batman's behavior, because that would lead to his own reasons being excluded. Being able to kill the Joker was almost the limit. If he wasn't threatened or in danger, he would have almost no excuse to kill the Joker. Because Batman originally didn't kill, and believed that he had no right to judge. After completing the cleansing serum, Badi threw the serum to Alfred and asked him to help Barbara inject it. Then, Badi's face was calm, and his palm was as fast as lightning. He pinched Nightwing's chin and pressed his thumb inward. With Nightwing's painful ah, he directly pressed one of his teeth out, and the bleeding gums dyed Nightwing's mouth red. Are you crazy, Bruce? Nightwing, who was caught off guard, pressed his cheek, stared at Bruce in shock, and looked like an old 8 o'clock drama. You hit me? You actually hit me? You actually knocked out one of my teeth? Badi picked up Nightwing's fallen tooth. It looked like a tooth on the surface, but underneath it was a mixture of amber gold and an owl. What is this? My tooth. Why is it like this? Nightwing held the place where the tooth fell. There was still a faint pain there. Bruce used too much force. He still felt a dull pain in his gums and salty blood was flowing out. Seeing that his tooth was so strange and there was a little owl inside, he couldn't help but forget the pain and stared at the tooth in Badi's hand. Take it for testing, and then tomorrow night, come with me on an operation. Badi threw the tooth directly to Nightwing without any explanation and asked Nightwing to take it for testing himself. Everything will be known tomorrow. After Nightwing left the chemistry room, Badi once again made some incense, neurotoxins, and drugs to control people's minds. He needed the entire owl to be controlled in his hands. In that way, it would be equivalent to controlling 70% of Gotham's upper class society and completely influencing the direction of Gotham. Chapter 357, The Court of Owls ends. It was the second day after Batman revealed his identity. Today, the whole day was in a state of fluctuation. Whether it was the stock price of Wayne Enterprises, the city government, the police department, or the World News Daily, the identity of Batman had begun to spread to the whole world, appearing on the headlines of all newspapers, and was involved in various disputes. It was nothing more than a series of issues such as human rights, law enforcement power, Batman's private abuse of punishment, etc., which were constantly debated and broadcasted on TV. When Alfred was monitoring the government, he even knew that the FBI had begun to prepare to arrest Bruce. Now all they lacked was evidence, excuses, and witnesses of Batman's guilt. After all, it was not so easy to deal with the consequences of nailing a huge capitalist to death. Killing the Joker in front of the whole city might give them conclusive evidence, but the lawyers of Wayne Enterprises had begun to play a role. Bruce did not need to show up all day, and he had already refuted everything to the point that people were speechless. At night, Gotham was still gloomy. In the dark Gotham City, there is such a legend. Legend has it that there is a group of dark walkers in the night of Gotham. They control this dark city. In this city, anyone who defies their will be destroyed by the claws of owls. Even if you are the ruler of the city, the Wayne family. Beware of the Court of Owls, always watching your travels. They spy on Gotham City from the dark, hiding in the low walls and attics. He is with you at home, and in your bed. Never mention his name, or his claws will find your head. Have you heard of this nursery rhyme? In the dark night, Badi and Nightwing walked in Wayne Building. There was a little bit of cool moonlight outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, which was covered by clouds. This was rare. Perhaps it was a relatively clear night. Of course I have heard of it. Come on, Bruce, this is just a nursery rhyme. Do you think it is true? Nightwing was on the side, and the dim moonlight reflected under his black tights, reflecting his strong, young, and powerful body. Badi glanced at Nightwing next to him. Although the child still had little experience, everything he knew, and it was better than what Bruce had done. In the near future, the title of Batman, if nothing unexpected happens, will be passed on to Nightwing. This is also one of Bruce's many little wishes. He is also Badi's helper in reforming Gotham. There are some customs that have been passed down, which are worth people's scrutiny. A black cat passes in front of you. Maybe you are about to have bad luck. 13 people sitting at the dining table, indicating that someone will die at midnight tonight. Alan Wayne, my great-grandfather, understood the power of superstition, so he was one of the first people to eliminate the 13th floor in his building. Nightwing paused and watched Badi's back walking in front of him, with the thin and dark moonlight shining on his side. So, you want to tell me this is true? Nightwing's expression was focused and serious, listening to Badi's gradual words. Interestingly, in order to truly prove this superstition, you have to leave a gap between the 12th and 14th floors, a fake floor, in order to accommodate the bad luck brought by the number 13. So, Wayne Building, there is no 13th floor. Badi walked to the elevator. They were now on the 12th floor. Alfred, stop the elevator. Okay, sir. After ordering Alfred to stop the elevator, Badi rolled up the sleeves of his suit. He did not wear Batman's equipment, because there was no battle. After knowing so much information, if he still needed to have a physical fight with the Court of Owls at the end, it would be too stupid. Reality is not a novel. Only novelists would deliberately create the final battle. Badi had already dealt with the members of the Court of Owls gathered in Wayne Building. Yesterday, they were hit by Badi's mental suggestion, suggesting that they should call for the owls to respond and gather in Wayne Building, and it was over. Yeah. Bati's cheeks and arms were tense, and his hands burst out with strong muscles, and he gradually opened the elevator door. He stuck his head out and looked into the elevator shaft. Deep in the dark corridor, between the elevator doors of the 12th and 14th floors, there was an elevator door for the 13th floor. There was no button for the 13th floor even in the elevator. The 13th floor could not be entered according to the usual way. Badi entered the elevator shaft, jumped across the elevator shaft, grabbed the iron ladder of the elevator shaft with both arms, and began to climb up. Nightwing followed. Owls are one of the few birds that do not build their own nests. Instead, they look for abandoned nests or nests of hostile birds, find them and occupy them. In other words, they invade the enemy's territory and build nests in the enemy's home. Badi said as he moved to the 13th floor and directly opened the elevator door of the 13th floor. As the door of the 13th floor opened, Nightwing's eyes gradually widened, staring at the inside in disbelief. There was a large office with orange lights shining from the ceiling. There were at least 60 people, all dressed in suits, slim evening gowns, and white owl masks, like they were attending a party. But now, they were staggering, falling on the ground, on the table, and on the desktop, in a coma. Originally, there might not be so many people here, but under the hint of Badi, the people of the Court of Owls held the recent meeting here. Of course, not all members of the Court of Owls were here, but it was shocking enough. Felix Fulton, a famous philanthropist in Gotham. Andre Froud, a billionaire. Kathy Ibanescu, a famous socialite, the daughter of the former mayor. Euphemia Sullivan, the daughter of Mayfair family. Albert Markson, the new female leader of the Markson family. Nightwing saw that several people who had dropped their masks were Gotham's most prestigious socialites, philanthropists, and even the top leaders of the other two of the four major families in Gotham. There were also a large number of Gotham crime families, including the Falcone family, the Mironi family, the Sabatino family, the Sullivan family, the Reilly family, the Ibanescu family, the Dimitrov family, the Markson family, the Odessa family, the Accuser, the Elliott family, etc. There were people from both the black and white worlds. This was simply able to control and influence the situation and power in Gotham. They are the Court of Owls. Nightwing stared in disbelief. This was too shocking. He never knew this nursery rhyme was true. Yes. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 358 Mercenary, Death Knell. Day 3. Although Batman's identity was revealed, Badi could still sit in his office in Wayne Tower and stand in front of the French window, watching the sun shining on the window, shining with colorful light, and gently savoring the orange red seal and Highland black tea. Since last night, Nightwing was brought to see the Court of Owls, and many hints were secretly passed to the minds of the Court of Owls. The entire Court of Owls is no longer in trouble, and is gradually being controlled by Badi. Many dark forces and claws are also in Badi's hands. Under the leadership of Nightwing, Badi was able to control all the economy of Gotham in an instant, and today, he directly promoted Gordon to the acting chief of the police department. The official appointment will be issued soon, and the old chief has been imprisoned for corruption. Master, 872 mercenaries have gathered in the hall. Alfred knocked on the door, then pushed open the door of the office, stepped on the soft dark red handmade carpet, and his shiny leather shoes sank into the carpet. He walked into the office and said, Badi blew gently on the black tea and the white quilt, and the orange red seal and Highland black tea rippled, and rose with mellow aroma. He sipped the black tea gently, until he finished the cup of seal and Highland black tea. Badi put down the cup and saucer, took the tissue handed by Alfred, and wiped his mouth. Has the parliament, the meeting, and the president been contacted? Badi put down the tissue, took a step, and walked out of the office. I have contacted you, sir. Several congressmen seem to think that you are in trouble and have offered a high price. It's almost as if they wrote on their faces that they want to embezzle money. As for the president of the United States, he is very interested and said that, if this is true, we can use Gotham as a test site to carry out the plan. 3 generals were persuaded by our military weapons and agreed to meet. If we can convince them, the next batch of US Army weapons replacement will be funded by Wayne Enterprises. Alfred followed and answered slowly. Badi laughed dumbly. I'm not soliciting business for Wayne Enterprises. Contact General Sam Lane for me. I need him. Alfred hesitated for a while and said, Sir, I tried to contact General Lane, but he seems to have a lot of opinions about you. Maybe it's because I was a superhero before. Tell him that I have weapons that can restrain Superman. Okay, sir. Gotham Building. Hall. The Great Hall, which can accommodate more than 2,000 people, is now filled with mercenaries of all kinds, divided into completely different teams, which appear here in a rush, bringing a bit of smoke and coldness to the place. There are the Hunting Bird mercenary team with red ribbons tied on their heads, the Black Otter mercenaries in black, the Falcon mercenary team, the Wolf mercenary team, the famous Mike team who is extremely rogue, but very good at escaping, and the king of mercenaries, Deathstroke, who stands in the corner like a ninja, with his hands folded on his chest, and one eye closed, exuding a cold breath. Everyone is afraid of Deathstroke to varying degrees. Unanimously, he is very far away from other mercenaries, as if he is isolated. Famous mercenary teams from all over the world, of all races, gather here. In fact, there are more, but those who can't pass the security check in the United States and can't enter Gotham prove that they have no ability and no need to appear here. They were completely dispersed, and small groups gathered together, constantly discussing in low voices. Bruce, what exactly do you want to do? Mike, do we really want to cooperate with them? They look so professional. A thin clever small Asian with a mustache asked his boss. And this Mike is a Russian man. In Batman's world, this Mike was the first person to surrender to Batman and become Batman's subordinate. Later, he was killed by Batman. Now here, he is nearly 45 years old, with a serious face, as if he was angry. Don't be afraid, we will follow and pick up the leaks. Mike spoke righteously, without the slightest shame. The mercenaries around him looked at him with contempt. Mike is powerful and has rich battlefield and firearms experience, but in the mercenary group, he is a special case, especially afraid of death, first-class escape skills, and can easily give up various tasks, resulting in a very bad reputation. The mustache next to Mike nodded in agreement, indicating that he had no opinion on the policy of Mike's boss. Bruce, the playboy, Batman's identity has been exposed. Do you want our protection? Are you stupid? Batman can beat 10 of you. Do you still need protection? I don't believe in Batman. I only believe in the gun in my hand. What mission can he have? Kidnap a female star home to sleep? Haha. No matter what the mission is, as long as the value is right, I dare to blow up the White House. As long as there is money, no matter what the mission is. Amid the discussion, Badi and Alfred slowly walked into the Great Hall Square. Suddenly, there was silence. Badi glanced at the mercenaries here. They had a sharp edge and looked at Badi without fear. Some even knew that Batman was him and wanted to compete with him provocatively. 1 month, $1 million US. Under my command, I will give you tasks of different values. If you complete them, there will be a reward. Many mercenaries looked at each other. Some single people, or teams of 2, 3, and 5 people, were already eager to move. 1 million is a good reward for a 5-man team. It takes a month to waste time, and each person gets 200,000. Compared with other dangerous missions, it is obviously much safer to go to Gotham. The largest mercenary group with nearly 50 people, Zeduoke frowned and shook his head, saying, for our team, 1 million is only 20,000 US per person. 1 month is too long. We won't. 1 million per person. 1 month. Badi said coldly. Anything that can be solved with money is not a problem. He has no one to use. Even if Batman has money, he has not considered a large number of subordinates. He can't complete his plan at all. Badi can only use money to build a legion. If you want Gotham to become bright, it is definitely not Batman alone. Batman can be a symbol, but there must be talented people under him. One person can't do it. Wow. The whole metropolis was in an uproar in an instant. There are 872 people here, and for 1 month, that means Bruce needs to pay $872 million for the hiring fee, which is an astronomical figure for this group of people. Now they know why this guy can be Batman, while they can only be mercenaries. I agree. Me too. It's been a long time since I met such a lucrative fat sheep. No, employer. Okay, I agree. After this job, I will go home and get married. Promised. When many mercenaries agreed enthusiastically, a cold snort was heard. A different cold snort. Deathstroke leaned against the wall, with a cold look in his one eye. 1 million. Just want to buy me for 1 month. Batman, you are too whimsical. Batman looked at this unsociable guy. Deathstroke did have abilities, which was different from other ordinary mercenaries. You can be my bodyguard for 2 million. You probably forgot that we have a grudge against each other. 3 million. Compared to money, I would rather cut off your head. 4 million. Haha, do you think you can do whatever you want just because you have money? 5 million. Deal. Chapter 359 Official. Gotham. An airline jointly established by Wayne Enterprises and Ferris Aviation, named after Gotham, is directly called Gotham Airlines, and is also the largest airline in Gotham. A private luxury airliner quietly stopped on the tarmac, waiting for its owner. Badi took Alfred from the private passage and walked into the airliner. When Badi sat on the soft sofa and leaned on it, the airliner slowly took off and flew towards Washington. Badi did not bring his 5 million bodyguard, Deathstroke. It was just a joke to say that he was a bodyguard. With Deathstroke's ability, he could kill the Justice League with a plan. His strategy and wisdom were comparable to Batman. It would be a waste for him to be a bodyguard. Badi directly sent him to solve the crimes in Gotham. Some of the more difficult ones, such as Bane, Penguin, Black Mask, Scarecrow, etc., were all planned by Badi and sent to Deathstroke to execute. The other mercenaries, in cooperation with the Court of Owls, which was already controlled by Nightwing, arrested and controlled all the underworld, human traffickers, organ dealers, drug dealers, and other people and gangs that violated the law in Gotham, waiting for Badi to come back and deal with them. Badi had already investigated the actions and crimes of these dark forces clearly, and listed all the plans, ordering all the mercenaries to act, arrest and control them. As long as he followed his own plan, it would naturally be enough to kill all the darkness and crimes in Gotham in one day. However, that was only a temporary solution, not a fundamental solution. The crimes in Gotham were like weeds, which could not be burned out by fire, and would grow again in the spring breeze. In the final analysis, the environment and material resources were indispensable. Badi gently shook the wine glass and lay on the comfortable seat. Through the window, he saw the gradually moving away, small Gotham, with a sense of desolation. His eyes flickered slightly, and he couldn't help thinking among the clouds above Gotham. Gotham's crime rate remains high, and it is difficult to explain why, but the external environment accounts for the vast majority. In a gloomy weather that becomes overcast at night, the strange Gothic architecture does not bring many colorful colors, but instead adds a strange sense of fear. In this external environment, everyone's mood will feel depressed and crazy. The next step is to comprehensively rebuild Gotham's environment, sky, and buildings. Badi has a comprehensive plan in mind. It is not difficult to transform Gotham, the city of sin, into the city of light. Even in terms of weather and external environment, because of the financial support of a large company like Wayne Enterprises, plus all the technological creations Badi knows, he has at least a dozen ways to change Gotham. Badi chose the fastest way. Cooperate with the authorities. While Badi was thinking, the luxury airliner had quietly landed on the secret helipad of the White House. The Secretary of State of the US President's cabinet, a thin middle-aged white man in a well-dressed suit with a gentle look, came to greet Badi. Mr. Wayne, the president, the congressman, and several generals have been waiting for a long time. It's my honor. Please lead the way. Badi extended his hand, and the Secretary of State led the way directly, passing through the president's exclusive rose garden, and led Badi to the Oval Office of the White House, the office of the top leader. There were already 4 army generals, the US president and his cabinet members of Congress who received more than $10 million from Badi, and so on. A total of more than 30 people were crowded in this not very spacious office, looking at Badi. "Everyone, I've been waiting for a long time." Badi smiled and bowed, saying. Alfred began to bring documents and distribute a plan to everyone. "Mr. Wayne, the combined power here is enough to turn Gotham upside down. I hope you're not making any more Batman jokes. If it's just to clarify your Batman joke, then we don't need to be here. Wayne Enterprises only promised to let us see you once. Please prepare your words." Several congressmen criticized Batman's joke with a cold look. For a playboy to play a superhero, he played too much and then came here to solve the problem? It's not that simple. If it's not good, this will be the scene of the division of Wayne Enterprises. "Mr. Wayne, please start. I hope this will be as you said." The US president interrupted some congressmen and nodded. Badi's eyes swept across the jumping mice, and his eyes crossed with the US president with a smile. Before this, he had a preliminary call with the US president and had some understanding. Then, with a click, Badi snapped his fingers. The lights dimmed, and Alfred put the projector he brought on the table and began to play the projection in the Demoval office. "Everyone, I call this plan Gotham Plan. It is expected that the plan to transform Gotham will be realized within half a year. Of course, this is just my personal wish for a beautiful transformation plan for my hometown. And for everyone here, this should be a superhero controllable plan." At this time, on the projection, pictures of superheroes gradually flashed, including the Flash, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, Superman, Shazam, Green Arrow. Many superheroes, although they are called superheroes, will become criminals who violate the law as long as they make a wrong step. Even now, these heroes wearing hidden battle suits are actually a headache for the police and the FBI to catch. However, for perverts who can fly, run at speeds exceeding the speed of sound, have a body of steel, and can pinch diamonds with their hands, the US anti-terrorist forces are really just delivering food to their doorsteps. "Can you provide us with their information?" asked the head of the anti-terrorist force. "No, I don't know their information." Badi certainly knew, but there was no need to provide it. He was just worried that many saints like Superman would hinder him. This was just a small insurance. This was not even Badi's main plan. He just wanted to give them some trouble and make it easier to implement his plan. What else is there to say? This is a security issue in each place. I doubt why this weird meeting was held. Please get to the point, Mr. Wayne. We are very busy. I don't know. The FBI is collecting evidence of your crime, Mr. Wayne. Please watch your words. Badi smiled lightly and swept his eyes over the crowd. The President of the United States sat calmly. Sam Lane looked at him with a stern look, and some of the congressmen who were bought and controlled made different voices. As for those who were clamoring, they were just playing the role of the villain. I hope the government will issue a statement. In the coming days, let Batman become the hero representative of Gotham, a hero who represents justice, law, and the elimination of evil. Declare that Batman is a superhero plan that I and the government are carrying out to change the sinful city. Chapter 360 Batman is Gotham's hero. What? Bruce Wayne, do you want the US government to play a superhero game with you? Are you crazy? Nonsense. The Wayne family enterprise, passed down to you, is simply nonsense. Tomorrow morning, Wayne Enterprises will be completely closed because of your words. Declare Batman as the official hero of Gotham. This is impossible. Batman can only go to jail. Declare Batman as the official hero of Gotham, a hero recognized by the government. That means Batman has the power of law enforcement and disposal in secret. This is assault to the people's distrust of the government's behavior, and the people are almost ready to rebel. If it were other heroes, such as the Flash, Green Lantern, Superman, Wonder Woman, etc., these heroes would be fine, and the people would not have such a big reaction, because they are sunny, handsome, stylish, beautiful, bright, and cool. But for Batman, whose only money power is money, it is hard to say that he is showing off. In Gotham, Batman is just a demon that brings fear to ordinary people. He is listed as a legend of urban legends. It is difficult for the people to believe and feel at ease. This plan is just a trouble. Several different congressmen looked cold and angry. Of course, at their level, none of them was really angry. What they need is benefits. This is my plan. It is in your hands. You can take a closer look. I won't introduce it in detail. Declare Batman as the official superhero of Gotham. It will allow you to have a deep contact with other superheroes. In this plan, there are detailed plans for each superhero. They can be united and even combined into a world-class superhero team. They will mainly assist and gradually let these superheroes accept supervision and deal with monsters and aliens that exceed human limits so that they will not override human morality. Badi walked and said calmly and confidently. The eyes of the US president flickered slightly. The leaders of the anti-terrorist forces and the 4 army generals all looked at the plan in silence and fell into deep thought. In this plan, a series of things, big and small, are clearly listed, including the plan to build a superhero in each city, the creation of official superheroes, the combination of various civilian superheroes, etc., and the feasibility is nearly 70%. However, these are not enough to make Batman the superhero representing Gotham. This involves the people's trust in the government, the most basic trust in the government. Once lost, it will only trigger a huge demonstration, making Gotham a fallen place and causing unrest in the entire United States. Badi snapped his fingers again, waking up the people who were in deep thought. Next, it's my cooperation agreement with the army, Badi said. Sam Ryan's eyes flickered and stared intently. At this time, the projection screen showed the exoskeleton armor, Sky Iron Man, and Nano Iron Man that can fight in space, etc. military combat equipment that Badi had once made. These are all combat equipment abandoned by Badi's world. They are already ordinary people. They can fly in the sky casually. Only the Nano Iron Man combat equipment is a standard equipment of the police station in Badi's world. The others are not worth mentioning. But at this time, in this era, this technology is simply shocking. There is such a military combat equipment that surpasses the Earth for 100 years. If everyone in the army has such a set of equipment, it can compete with any superhero and forcibly change the world's pattern. At that time, it will be the real overlord of the Earth. Of course, this is their fantasy. When the projection screen was displayed, the 4 army generals couldn't help but hold their breath. They quickly flipped through the new plan. Seeing a lot of data and firepower, they couldn't help but stare and get excited. The Ministry of National Defense agrees to cooperate. The National Counter-Terrorism Force needs this combat equipment. The previous combat army and the Army Reserve Force request cooperation. Excuse me, Mr. Wayne, when will the physical measure and sample be available? Several people from the highest staff of the army immediately called out and asked for cooperation. This kind of weapon, just looking at the data, already knows how much power it has. We must cooperate and master it in the hands of the United States. Badi suppressed their restlessness with both hands and said, everyone, calm down. You should find that this is the Iron Man suit in Marvel. Yes, you are right. Your great Batman has completely manufactured the Iron Man equipment and even added more powerful firepower on the basis, which is enough for the warriors wearing the Iron Man armor to face any war. In this world, there are Marvel comics, and the Iron Man movie has been released, so these generals and the people of the army staff are so excited. According to the data listed by Badi, it already has the flight mode, repulsion cannon, laser cannon, simulated stealth, invisibility and other functions of Iron Man, which are more practical and more comprehensive than Iron Man. On the spot, the President of the United States, the operations staff, and the Minister of Finance started to argue and began to plan how many of these Iron Man suits to purchase. However, the first thing they had to deal with was whether to declare Batman as the official hero of Gotham, a superhero plan for the White House cabinet and Bruce to cooperate in eradicating evil. Before they finished discussing, Badi snapped his fingers again. You can discuss this privately. Now, I need to announce one last thing that you cannot refuse. Everyone present paused, holding their breath, and looked at Badi. Badi smiled slightly, his eyes full of smiles, and said, I cooperated with the government to make Batman the official hero of Gotham, not for fun. I just want to do something for my city, Gotham. There are many sins there, and many evil thoughts are bred there. I hope that my city is bright, beautiful, and vibrant, not gloomy, and a rape or robbery may happen in any alley. I have spent more than 10 years, and still have no way to eliminate sin. So I stood up and walked out of the darkness into the light. I have developed a complete cold fusion fission technology to benefit my city. After Badi said this, everyone present changed their faces and was shocked beyond words. What is cold fusion? Cold fusion is a renewable clean energy technology that is radiation free and pollution free. Its fuel can be extracted from seawater. The energy generated by 1 liter of seawater concentrated fuel is equivalent to the energy generated by 300 liters of gasoline. It can be said that once this technology becomes popular, it can completely replace the mineral fuels currently used, such as oil, coal, and uranium. In other words, the future is the future of energy, and energy is in the hands of Wayne Enterprises. In the future, Gotham will become a clean energy city. I will use cold fusion to create many cold fusion power generation industries, cold fusion powered cars, cold fusion powered ocean going ships and large ships, cold fusion machines, medical care, automation, production, transportation, to feed the 6 million people in Gotham. Gotham will become the city with the lowest unemployment rate in the world. Gotham will become the city with the lowest crime rate in the world. Gotham will become a world-class city and a world-class clean energy city in the next reform. There is only light in such a city. Badi smiled and looked at the President of the United States, saying, Wayne Enterprises is willing to cooperate with the government to develop cold fusion technology and let clean energy change the world. Ladies and gentlemen, may I ask, can Batman be a hero? Many congressmen looked at each other. The future of the world is the future of energy, and this technology is in the hands of the Wayne Group. And all he wants is to change his own city. He wants the government to declare that he is a hero of Gotham, a hero recognized by the government's cooperation. The eyes of the President of the United States flickered, but in a moment, he stood up. He could no longer imagine that, if Wayne Enterprises cooperated with others, with other countries, whether it was the military technology power of Iron Man's suit that surpassed 100 years, or cold fusion technology, it would be enough to allow a developing country to rise and challenge the hegemony of the United States. This is simply a disaster. The benefits involved can simply change the future and lead the world. It was just a moment of hesitation. The President of the United States stood up, extended his friendly right hand, and smiled. Batman is the hero of Gotham. Chapter 361 1 year. Day 6. This is the 6th day since Batman took on the identity of Batman. From this day on, Batman's last wish has been fulfilled, turning Gotham, the city of sin, into the city of light. At lightning speed, all the criminal forces and gangs in Gotham that Batman could detect, in cooperation with the Court of Owls and the mercenaries led by Deathstroke, have been controlled. In the evening, when Batman returned to Gotham, he gave an order to bring all the controlled criminal gangs to trial in accordance with the laws of New Jersey. Gotham began to become chaotic on this day. Similarly, it began to change. Day 7. The US government announced that Batman was a superhero stationed in Gotham, with the power to catch criminals, the FBI and the police. Batman officially became the superhero of Gotham at this moment, and his identity was more formal than any other superhero. This caused shock to the whole world. This is the first case in which a country recognizes superheroes, and allows the existence of superheroes law enforcement power in the world. Although these heroes with superpowers are called superheroes, they have never been officially declared, and the government has never believed in them, let alone recognize them as heroes. Sometimes, when these so-called superheroes are down and out, they are accidentally captured. What awaits them is research and dissection, rather than enjoying the rights of heroes. The consequence of Gotham's announcement of a formal and legal superhero, Batman, is a series of superhero bills. Batman initially drafted the bill and directly established the Superhero League, which brought together a large number of superheroes to form a connected and unified formation. Of course, Batman did not want to set up a Justice League to maintain justice in this world, but he also followed the process of the Justice League to form a team in advance so that they could more consciously maintain the world. And, most importantly, let them argue with the US government and not hinder their reform of Gotham. Especially Superman. Batman provided the spectrum of red sun rays to Sam Lane. Now they have started to fight fiercely and are negotiating. Superheroes cannot be separated from the government, and they cannot be above the country and the people. Heroes serve the people, not just showing off their power recklessly. On the 8th day, more than 30,000 army soldiers began to enter Gotham, and under the command of Badi, they assisted in strict management. In addition, many judges were dispatched from other cities to deal with the criminal gangs that were arrested in Gotham. The whole of Gotham was undergoing a fiery change. The crime was destroyed in an instant, but what followed was that the court was seriously understaffed, not to mention that the court itself was already extremely corrupt. The staff who could judge were transferred from other cities, and the court was busy all day and night. In almost every case, Badi ordered people to arrest and search for evidence, and the evidence was conclusive. The darkness that had accumulated in Gotham exploded in an instant. With the court of owls and mercenaries controlled by Badi, and more than 30,000 American soldiers who maintained order, the whole of Gotham was completely renewed. 1 month later, Badi successfully developed an environmental regulator to adjust the air and magnetic field, which was located around Gotham. At night, the thick dark clouds in the sky of Gotham began to gradually thin out, and a clear night sky could be seen. 2 months later, Gotham had changed from a desolate and cold city to a city with a bit of loneliness, like the early morning sunshine in autumn, which brought a little coolness and warmth, shining on the whole city. At night, you can see a clear night sky with beautiful stars twinkling. 3 months later, Wayne Enterprises began to unite the entire Gotham, nearly 90% of the companies, and began to raise funds to create a cold fusion new energy company. Gotham officially began to become a clean energy capital, with many cold fusion power generation industries, cold fusion powered cars, cold fusion powered ocean-going ships and large ships, cold fusion machines, medical care, automation, production, transportation. The whole city seemed to glow with light from the darkness. What broke out from the dark fog at dawn was the dark figure of Batman, bringing light to the whole city, reforming and clearing the sins of the whole city. Half a year later, the reform of new energy for the city means that the entire city, under the leadership of Wayne Enterprises, has created more than 1 million jobs. For a time, Gotham was almost the city with the lowest unemployment rate. Then, the United States enacted the Super City Act, listing Gotham as a special zone and a superhero city of new energy. This is the first time that a superhero has affected an entire city. Under the leadership of Batman, the entire city of Sin, the city with the highest crime rate in the United States, has been transformed into today's energy city, the city of light, and the city of hope. This city is not in darkness, not in sin, and still has hope. And it will never lose hope. 1 year later, Gotham Plaza. A red scarf is about to cover a towering statue. Many reporters from all over the world gathered here, with flashlights flashing on their cameras and cannons, illuminating the mayor on the podium. Today, on behalf of the people of Gotham, I sincerely say thank you to Batman, Bruce Wayne. He has been lurking in Gotham for more than 10 years as Batman, becoming an urban legend for more than 10 years, and has changed our lives. Gotham is no longer in dire straits. He has made our city a city of light, hope, and new energy. This is just a small gift from the people of Gotham to commemorate him. The mayor bowed and finished speaking. Then, amid the flashing lights of many reporters, he lifted the huge red cloth. Inside, a bronze sculpture of Batman stood in this square, looking into the distance, as if he could see the future. All the darkness will go away behind him, and change in his hands. The sun slanted, and shone on the shining statue. Huge applause rang out throughout the square. Wayne Enterprises, the sun shines warmly on this building. Batman stood by the window, looking out over the entire Gotham. Nightwing was behind him, saying excitedly, "Bruce, we succeeded. In just 1 year, we changed Gotham." His eyes were filled with admiration, respect, adoration, and reverence. He originally thought that he had become a master under Bruce, and could stand on his own, and become a superhero. However, what Bruce did made him feel insignificant. After lurking for more than 10 years, he found out all the environmental evils in Gotham. A year ago, he single-handedly transformed this city of sin into today's new energy city, the city of light, with his own strength and tremendous force. This is a superhero, changing the entire city, and turning the city of sin into the city of light. Nightwing looked at Badi's back and couldn't hide his admiration in his heart. In the sun, Badi's figure was as tall as a mountain in his eyes. Dick, from today on, you are Batman. Chapter 362 Superman, Louis. Emperor Building. Badi slowly opened his eyes and woke up from his deep sleep. He couldn't help but twist his stiff neck and spine, straightened his shoulders, and exhaled heavily. He had been sleeping for a year. He himself didn't expect that Batman's wish would take him a year to complete. Even if he had mastered the right time, right place, and right people, it still took more than a year to truly make Gotham the perfect city in Batman's mind and fulfill his last wish. At the moment of completion, Badi passed the position of Batman to Nightwing, which was also one of Batman's small last wishes. There were many other small last wishes, such as marrying Catwoman, which Badi didn't need to complete. Therefore, in the later period, although Catwoman also appeared beside Bruce, Badi did not complete this last wish. That was quite like cheating on others. In that universe, after he came back, Bruce's body had turned into countless corks, loaded subsystems, and began to spread the universe, harvesting all the information that belonged to him, and many pieces of information were combined to make him more powerful. Badi twisted his neck, his fingers kept stretching and bending, clanging against the steel, which was the metal claws of the Emperor armor. In a year, Badi's body has adapted to the magnetic field that was released from the Speed Force and expanded and released. Now, he can control the magnetic field freely. He called Hera, and several Secretary-type Harris replaced the Emperor armor for him. Although the Emperor armor looks very powerful, Badi doesn't like this style very much. He feels stuffy when he wraps his body in the big armor. Then, the girls received the news that Badi had awakened, and they returned to the Emperor Building one by one with joy, to be intimate with Badi. The current Emperor Building is no longer the same as before. Now it encompasses the entire metropolis. The entire metropolis has been recreated and sorted out. Under the Temple of Olympus, that was once harvested, it has been refined again by Raven and Hera, plus the continental plates of the earth. Now the entire state of New Jersey has become the Bamulodi Temple of Badi. It is huge and magnificent, more magnificent than the Temple of Olympus, and has the luxury and greatness of the center of the entire universe. The earth is already the center of the universe, the center of all worlds, and the god worshipped by many aliens. Many races in the entire universe have been conquered and spread by Huo Rong, and they clearly know the sovereignty of His Majesty Bamulodi. Master, the Falcon has spread your majesty throughout the universe. Since the conquest of OA, 780,000 alien races have surrendered to you. Your appearance has made the entire universe realize that the Falcon is continuing its march. The monitors once appeared, fought with us, and then withdrew from this universe. What about the cosmic network created by Brainiac? It's being manufactured. The process is already speeding up, and we are updating the old designs all the time. Therefore, it will still take more than 10,000 years to complete. That's okay. What about the anti-monitor? His whereabouts are uncertain. He has begun to obtain the anti-life equation, and has also created the Mobius chair. Sitting on the Mobius chair, he has begun to destroy several antimatter universes, and advance into the positive matter universe. Now he is beginning to destroy the superhuman universe. Find him and tell him that I can give him the blood of the only god of his generation, and make him my follower. Yes, master. Get a little understanding of the situation in your own universe. Badi left the new Bamulodi temple, and started to observe and play on Earth with his many women. Now the entire Earth has reached a super high-tech level, and is well planned, making this Earth extremely developed. Aliens of different skin colors and appearances can be seen everywhere on the streets. This is the plan of all races in the universe that Badi planned before he came to other universes. It allows all races in the entire universe to have the opportunity to come to Earth, and also allows Earth to see the races of the entire universe. They then went to the original Middle East location and had afternoon tea under the leadership of Pamela. The original desert Gobi area has been transformed into a green forest area under the governance of Pamela and many high technologies. This place is loved by some aliens who love forests and nature, and Pamela is also called the Queen of the Forest by them. One after another, Badi walked in the asteroid belt like an outing, inspected the cosmic network created by Brainiac, and then went to OA Star. OA Star has become the command station of Badi's 7-Color Legion, where he launched the conquest of the entire universe. Although the universe has begun to spread the reputation of Badi, the universe is too big. 3,000 sectors are not all, and there is still a wider space for Badi to conquer. After seeing Badi, who hurried back and checking the Legion, Badi had nothing to do and continued to let Badi conquer other races. It is worth mentioning that Badi did not see Kanna, because Kanna and Ellie were already having fun in the universe, starting to capture other light beasts and turning other light beasts into human forms. Now they are chasing the Black Death Emperor. Badi paid a little attention and did not intend to let them come back and let them play. After being intimate with his woman for several days, Badi fell asleep again and began to descend to other universes. The sky was sunny. The 75th Aerospace Rocket Base in the United States, a huge rocket space station, was slowly rising into the air and launching into space under the power of rocket engines. At about 8,000 kilometers from the ground, with a boom, the rocket's propulsion engine exploded. The front end of the rocket lost balance and began to tilt and fall towards the city of Prado. What's going on? The engine overheated. There was an explosion. Damn it. The rocket is falling towards the city of Prado. Quickly notify the Prado city government and evacuate the crowd. Too late. It will fall into the nuclear power plant in about 40 seconds. Damn it. Why did it fall in such an important place? It's over. The staff on the ground were sweating profusely, and religious people of their sects kept clasping their hands together and praying. At this time, in the sky, a red and blue figure screamed, broke through the clouds, and propped up the falling rocket in one fell swoop, and slowly flew back to the number 75 Aerospace Rocket Base. Superman brought the rocket back from the sky and placed it at the launch site. Then, with the gratitude of many jubilant employees, they watched Superman soar into the sky and leave the aviation base. Metropolis. Superman flew into an alley at lightning speed. When Clark went out to the street, he had put on his glasses and was walking on the street with a bright rose in his hand. He came to Louis' apartment with an anxious look on his face and a happy smile. After knocking on the door, Louis took the rose with a smile on his face. The two of them almost became passionate. Clark picked up Louis directly, walked towards the big bed in the room, kicked open the door, and pressed Louis under him. Just when Clark pressed Louis on the bed with passion and was about to give a passionate kiss, suddenly, Louis covered Clark's mouth with his hand and slapped Clark in the face with a slap. Get out. Chapter 363. Women's feelings are amazing. Metropolis. Sunny. Starbucks. Near the window, Louise is wearing a neat and capable business suit with a beautiful face and sexy and sad expression. A group of men passing by the window saw this scene and their eyes were all fixed on her until they bumped into the gate or lamppost of the square with a bang, and then they woke up. Badi had a sad face and frowned, feeling that his abnormal experience of becoming a woman was quite strange. What the hell is this? Beauty, would you like a drink? Get lost. After driving away a few self-righteous men, Badi couldn't help but hold his forehead and rubbed his slightly sore eyebrows. Becoming a beautiful, intellectual and sexy woman is really, forget it. Let's see if Louise has any last wishes first, and quickly complete them, spread the subsystem, and leave this universe. Being a woman, Badi still feels that she is difficult to adapt. Spend the rest of my life with Clark. There is no need to think about it. Just last night, the scene was so thrilling that Badi was so frightened that he almost committed suicide. As for the last wish of spending the rest of her life with Clark, pass. Just skip it. Badi broke up with Clark yesterday. This last wish occupies a large proportion, but fortunately, it is not the most important one. Because Louise is a strong woman, and she is also very independent. Spending the rest of her life with Clark is actually a third level last wish at this stage. Although it will feel repulsive if it is not completed, it is not a bad thing. Reconcile with my father. Louise and her father, General Sam Lane, have always had various communication problems. Her father has always been very dissatisfied with her career as a young reporter and her boyfriend, who is also a young reporter. This involves Louise's independence and her father's inappropriate love, and all kinds of misunderstandings. Both of them are stubborn and can't convince each other, so the father-daughter relationship can only be bad. Now that she has broken up with Clark, there will be some room for reasoning with her father, allowing Badi to fulfill this last wish. It just so happens that Ryan will go to Metropolis tomorrow to test the red tornado, and he and Louise will have dinner time. It should be enough to use this time to solve the last wish. As for the last wish, that occupies Louise's brain more than 50%. Her most wanted wish is to make herself a world-famous reporter. Even though she has won the Pulitzer Prize twice, Louise is still not satisfied with this award. What she wants is that the whole world knows that she is a reporter, to become the greatest reporter in the world, and to leave her name in history. Badi pondered and thought. In the era where Badi is now, the Justice League has been established for a while, and has solved several international events, and has deeply gained the trust of the people of the world. It's just that the government, General Ryan and others are always worried about what will happen if these overly powerful forces are out of control one day. He also subconsciously targeted the Justice League and many superheroes. This is an era with the Justice League, but there are many villains and many opinions from the government. What should Louise do with her identity? In order to make the whole world remember her, become a world-renowned reporter, and leave her name in history? General Ryan. Justice League. US government. Superheroes. Badi pondered for a moment, and suddenly his eyes flashed, and he had come up with a solution. Want to be famous in the world, become a reporter known to the world, and leave your name in history. Isn't this simple? Badi smiled and took out a laptop from his bag with his slender hands, opened it and was about to start typing. At this moment, Clark walked into the Starbucks coffee shop with honest black framed glasses, followed by a tuxedo, holding a black cane, and a stage magician. The people around him didn't notice it, as if they didn't notice the stage magician appeared in the coffee shop, and they were still at ease. Louise. Clark had a complicated look on his face, and his heart was in unimaginable grief. Just yesterday, when they were about to get married, Louis broke up with him because he was 1 minute and 32 seconds late. He couldn't accept it. There must be something wrong. Louis, this is too sudden and too weird. I can't accept it. Clark pulled out the chair opposite Louis and sat down, looking at Badi with complicated eyes. Badi's face turned cold on the spot. It seems that a slap in the face can't make him sober. Clark, enough. I'm tired of you. Please disappear from my world. Badi looked at Clark and then turned to the woman beside him, Zatanna. Zatanna's eyes flickered, shook her head gently, and said to Clark, Superman, she is not controlled by any magic. There is no sign of being possessed by anyone. This is Louis. She was invited by Clark to come, suspecting that his girlfriend was switched. Of course, in fact, Clark is very smart, with a super developed brain, which makes him suspect that his girlfriend was controlled by someone. After observing with perspective, he did not observe any problems from the physical and technological levels. He invited Zatanna, the magician of the Justice League, to come with him to help him check Louis. However, it was very disappointing. Louis was not being manipulated by others, he was just himself. In other words, he was really dumped. Chapter 364 Father-Daughter Harmony. In the evening, the Metropolitan revolving Western restaurant, with beautiful violin music and a comfortable environment, and the colorful night view of the Metropolitan outside the window. This place has been reserved by General Ryan in order to have a comfortable dinner with his daughter. He often goes out, and the general is busy with affairs. It is rare for him to pass by the Metropolitan and have a meal with his daughter. Although his daughter gives him a headache and makes him restless, the family will always find a reason to contact each other, even though they quarrel every time. A good officer family does not devote himself to the country, but instead becomes a small reporter, revealing many scandals about the government, which makes him extremely embarrassed. Every time in private, other generals tease his daughter, saying that she is not doing her job properly, which makes General Ryan extremely angry. Therefore, almost every time General Ryan and his daughter Louise meet, they start with a peaceful meal, talk about the future of their respective careers, and then quarrel fiercely. There are several times when they even overturn the table and spill the food directly. General Ryan's slightly wrinkled face remained motionless, still with the majestic demeanor of a general, but he sighed in his heart. He also understood that his own character and his daughter's character were both too stubborn and independent, and neither of them would give up what they were doing. For example, his daughter asked him to give up targeting Superman. Is this possible? If he doesn't target Superman, what if Superman goes crazy and destroys the world? Who can stop him? There are too many people who believe in Superman. Not to mention his position, just the fact that Superman is almost invincible on Earth is enough to make him believe. General, Miss Louise is here. A waiter whispered in General Ryan's ear. General Ryan waved him off and asked him to start serving the dishes. The violin playing on the small stage not far away also played a soft and harmonious violin piece. He hoped that the next meal would have a harmonious family atmosphere. Father. The next moment he saw Louise, General Ryan felt a little flattered. His own daughter, smiling and hugging him. He remembered the last time this happened. Ever since his daughter became a reporter, the two of them had been cold and indifferent, either quarreling or scolding each other. It had been a long time since General Ryan felt that he was with his daughter like a family. And now, Louise's smile seemed to let General Ryan see her as a toddler, calling him father and family when she was a child. Okay, how are you doing recently? The wrinkles on General Ryan's face were much looser, and although he was still majestic, he was much warmer. Louise shrugged easily, and after thanking the waiter for pulling out a chair for her to sit down, she said with a relaxed look, I'm doing well. We haven't seen each other for a long time, father. The busy work has made our family relationship a lot more distant. Badi said from Louise's perspective. The dishes gradually came up. General Ryan was helpless and shook his head gently. It's because I asked you to help me, and you chose to be a little reporter, and made a boyfriend who is a reporter. At this point, General Ryan frowned again, and the anger accumulated in his heart rose again, and he seemed a little irritated. But as soon as he said it, he regretted it again. Almost every time, they quarreled because of this. It seems that today will be another quarrel between father and daughter. Yes. I'm sorry. It was extremely unexpected that General Ryan actually heard his daughter's apology. This was not flattered. His daughter was simply a different person. I have broken up with Clark. After the next last report as a reporter, I will quit my job as a reporter and no longer be a reporter. Louis said with a little apology. At this moment, in Badi's mind, he turned out the scene deep in his memory where Louis and his father were on the grass in the backyard of his house, holding his little hand and gradually teaching Louis to walk. There was also a scene in the middle of the night when she suddenly woke up from a nightmare and her father comforted her to sleep. There was also a scene in which her father printed his fierce and majestic appearance on his t-shirt to prevent his junior high school classmates from hitting on him. As she grew up, Louise's dream intersected with her father's expectation of a daughter, which eventually led to the first quarrel, the second, the third, fourth, fifth, sixth. When General Ryan heard Louise's words, he suddenly flashed with surprise and kept saying yes. After Louise took the initiative to give up some of her stubbornness that her father didn't understand, the two of them got back together and they talked and laughed, telling all kinds of happy and interesting stories since childhood. She hadn't seen her father smile for a long time. General Ryan hadn't gotten along well with his daughter for a long time. When talking about giving up the career of a reporter and what she wanted to do in the future, General Ryan invited, "Come and help me and become an officer. I think it won't be a problem with the wisdom and style you inherited from me." "Okay, father, but I still need to be a reporter and do my last career as a reporter so that the world will remember that there is a great reporter named Louise Ryan." Louise said with a smile, holding up a fork. "No problem, or tomorrow, you can come with me to the military base outside the metropolis and get familiar with it first. How about that?" "Okay." It just so happens that I need to use the military's computer. The next day, the sun was still blazing, illuminating the haziness of the air. In the military base, Badi was led by General Ryan to see the initially manufactured Red Tornado. The red anthropomorphic armored robot was in the initial control behavior, with weak intelligence judgment program, and was a little rigid. It was more than enough to fight against general anti-terrorism military operations, but it was a little inconvenient to use it to guard against Superman and the Justice League. Badi pointed out these shortcomings one by one, making the scientists around him blush with anger. This is only the first generation. With our improvements, it will become more and more perfect. This red tornado, which took more than several years to plan and 1 billion yuan to develop, obviously gave them great confidence. After a series of tests, it had a relatively good expected effect. They believed that it would get better and better and could eventually be used to prevent the Justice League. Badi smiled but said nothing. With the approval of General Ryan, he borrowed a computer in the military base and inserted the USB that he had already edited, under the premise that Louis became famous in the world and became the greatest reporter on Earth, a great reporter that everyone would remember. What he needed to guard against was to prevent Cyborg from deleting all the information he had posted. Then, it took Badi almost a whole day to complete the implantation of the virus and modify the structure of the red tornado. Although this was very sudden, how could Louis know these? But facing the more flexible control of the red tornado, the scientists and General Ryan were even more delighted. This can be regarded as compensation for General Ryan's lack of a daughter in the future. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 365 Book Publishing. Metropolis. Apartment. After completing Louise's last wish of reconciliation with General Ryan yesterday, Louise used the main control computer of the military base to input some lock control programs, and then she declined General Ryan's request to stay and returned to her apartment to do her last work that would go down in history. Louise simply tied up her hair with her hands, holding a rubber root in her mouth, and thought in front of the mirror. Her hand subconsciously tied up her hair with the rubber root and tied it into a ponytail. Using programming to solve the problem of Cyborg, we can at least ensure that Cyborg cannot be deleted through the internet for a month when the report is issued. But this is not safe. Louise has a fair face. The morning light shines on her fair face, and she looks like a simple beauty without makeup. Compared with her professional suit, she is less cold and beautiful, like a strong woman, and more like a neighbor beauty who gets along well with her. I still need a physical report. No, publish a book. Publish a book directly. Publish hundreds of millions of books, and print Louis' head portrait on them. This way, at least it can leave a deep impression in the memory of the entire world. Unless the people in the Justice League are determined to delete the memory of the whole world, or the Flash runs over to stop it. Otherwise Louis' own wish is a very simple thing for me. After tying her hair, she picked up the toothbrush, squeezed a little toothpaste on the toothbrush, put her mouth to the faucet, turned on the water, took a mouthful of tap water in her mouth, and then put the toothbrush into her mouth, and started brushing her teeth. After brushing her teeth, and making sure there was no bad breath from waking up in the morning, Louise put on her pajamas, sat cross-legged on the bed, took the laptop, opened the stock website, and started to trade stocks. Yes, trading stocks. Louis' own net worth is actually only about $100,000, so little that it is hard to look at. Americans never save money, unlike China, who always have to save some money to feel at ease. Americans have a more open consumption concept and are prepayment type consumption. Shopping through overdraft and installment payment is a very common consumption behavior. First, Americans are generally more optimistic and bold, trust their ability to make money, actively believe that future income can repay the loan, and respect a hedonistic lifestyle. Second, banks provide consumers with convenient borrowing methods and lower repayment interest. American banks will provide their own bank card users with at least 45 days of high quality interest-free period, so that users have less psychological pressure when they decide to use installment payment to shop. In fact, although many people enjoy villas and luxury, they are actually carrying huge debts and will pay them back one by one in the future. Later, Louis used his social credit to directly apply for the maximum loan amount at Citibank. This maximum amount was only about $3 million, which was pitifully small for Badi. But this $3 million was enough as a starting capital, and he invested all of it in the stock market. On the first day, $3 million turned into $9 million. On the second day, $9 million turned into $50 million. By the way, Badi also acquired 3 small printing plants that were on the verge of bankruptcy. On the third day, Badi had earned more than $200 million through the stock market. He acquired many small printing plants in the Netherlands, Japan, China, India, the United Kingdom, France, etc., and established connections with some printing companies that had no connection with superheroes. On the fourth day, the layout was completed. Badi picked up his mobile phone and called all the newly purchased printing plants and printing companies directly, asking them to start printing the books they published. It took 2 hours just to notify them. After notifying them all, he told them to release bookstores and newsstands as soon as possible for every 100,000 books they printed and sell them at the lowest price of $1. It must be timely for the people of the whole world to quickly own a book she published. After pressing enter and sending the book with the cover she designed, Louise made a cup of coffee, stood in front of the balcony window, facing the sun, and sniffed the rich aroma of coffee. She squinted her eyes and looked at the sun with a smile. Superheroes, you are in trouble. Los Angeles, photocopy printing factory. This is a small printing factory acquired by Badi. It was on the verge of bankruptcy, but Badi bought it and saved it. Of course, what Badi needs is not this kind of business, but the channels of some stores owned by this printing factory, which can quickly put his books on bookstores and newsstands for sale, and spread his net all over the world. Badi has more than 60 such small printing factories all over the world, and they are preparing to print his upcoming books at the same time. The head of the printing department, Custer, a rude and strong man, pushed open the factory director's office and asked impatiently, "Defo, have the books that the boss wants to print been sent? The workers below have no work to do, and they are already very worried." Defo has a protruding beer belly, thick black glasses, and a red nose. At this moment, he is staring at the documents printed out from the fax machine in amazement, staring at them intently. Even when Custer came to him, he still didn't come back to his senses. It's true that the documents and books faxed by Badi are probably shocking. Defo, what are you doing? The burly Custer waved his hand in front of him, then lifted his shoulder and shook him twice, before shaking the factory director Defo back. Are you possessed by a ghost? Why don't you react? The workers below are waiting for you to start working. Defoe's horrified eyes came back to his senses, and looked at Custer. Sweat was flowing down his forehead and temples. He wiped his forehead with the sleeve of his suit, took off his black framed glasses, and said with a chill, "Custer, I don't know whether to print this book." Custer looked at Defoe with doubtful eyes. He and Defoe had known each other for more than 10 years, and were very friendly. They even cooperated to buy the young guy and a printing factory from the former boss and run it together. However, the management was not good, and they almost went bankrupt recently. It can be said that the acquisition by Badi was the last chance for them to survive on the verge of bankruptcy. He had never seen Defoe say whether to print this book. When would the small capitalist Defoe consider such a thing? As long as there is money to be made, and it is not illegal, that's all. Is there anything that cannot be printed? Custer looked at Defoe with doubtful eyes, took his file from his hand, looked back, and began to check the book that frightened Defoe. At first, Custer didn't care. This is a book about superheroes, telling the story of superheroes from the perspective of Lois Lane as a reporter. But after turning a few pages, Custer's eyes suddenly widened, and like Defoe, he showed a look of fear, pinched the file with his fingers, and his breathing began to become heavy. This book will definitely be a bestseller. But, one update today. Chapter 366, Watchtower. Located in the geosynchronous orbit 22,300 kilometers above the Earth. Inside the observation tower, the steel bone body is bright, showing the texture of steel. One eye is closed, and the red electronic eye on the other side keeps flashing. He is practicing and controlling himself. He was originally an excellent American football star athlete. He was accidentally injured by the Apocalypse Mother Box, and was on the verge of death. However, he fused the Mother Box molecules at the moment of the explosion. In order to prolong his life, His scientist father Silas Stone took him to the Red Room laboratory where the US government collected various alien technologies for rescue. During the process, due to the influence of the mother box molecules, Victor absorbed all the high-tech in the Red Room and eventually became a half-human half-mechanical cyborg. Becoming a half-human, half-mechanical cyborg is not a happy thing for him, but a painful thing. The endless network information is like a saw, sawing his head all the time, annoying and dull pain, and he, in the extremely resolute mother box and a body made of many high-tech, stays awake. This is an invisible torture that can drive people crazy. Fortunately, he finally found his place, a career worth pursuing, and with a firm will, he and his partners who had experienced battles together created the Justice League to maintain peace in the world. At this moment, today, he is the one guarding the Watchtower. The main purpose of the Watchtower is to monitor the entire world through the Watchtower, to observe whether there are alien species on Earth that destroy the Earth, and whether there are major events on the Earth itself that destroy the environment and destroy life, and to act as a communication bridge, command or provide information, help or assist the allies of the Justice League, Titans, Teen Titans, Birds of Prey, Justice Society of America, Green Lantern Corps, Outsiders, Doom Patrol, Legion of Superheroes, Repulsors, Storm Guard, Ever Victorious 7 Warriors, Metal Team, Young Justice League, Star Labs, 10 Heroes, All-Star Squadron, Justice League Community and other teams. To complete the mission of protecting the world together, Cyborg also often takes this opportunity to use the technology of the Watchtower to assist himself and help himself control the messy network information in his body. Suddenly, Cyborg, who was practicing his ability to control the information network with one eye closed, suddenly changed his expression. He opened his eye, which showed horror, and his other electronic eye flashed a piercing red like an alarm. At this time, a dark figure came from behind him with great force. Batman took a big step and stepped into the empty control room of the Watchtower. He came to Cyborg with great force, under the mask of Batman, with a calm face, more calm than ever before. Batman, it's bad. Someone has reported the identities of all superheroes and posted them on the internet of the entire planet. I know, it's Lois Lane. She has even sold a book called Identities of Superheroes in major bookstores and newsstands around the world. All of our identities have been reported. Superman's girlfriend. How could this happen? Don't worry about them for now, Cyborg. Delete the reports on the internet, notify all superheroes immediately, and bring their families to a safe place for safekeeping. Okay. Damn it. What kind of code is this? It's too complicated, beyond any code program I've seen before, and I can't crack it. Try your best. Batman had a gloomy face. He sat directly on the side of the console and began to quickly notify all the superheroes he had recorded. The families of the superheroes must be relocated before all the villains, governments, and evil people react. He suspected that the information he recorded was likely stolen. What's more, this is a sweep against superheroes, allowing all human governments to target superheroes and restrict their existence. He pressed the communication button. Superman, move your family to a safe house in Detroit. Flash, move your family to a safe place, and then destroy all the books of the identity of superheroes in the bookstores around the world. Destroy as many as you can, and rush to the Watchtower in 50 seconds. Green Lantern, Shazam, Wonder Woman, Titans. After Batman notified all the superheroes, Wonder Woman was the first superhero to rush to the Watchtower, because her family was all in Paradise Island, and humans could not go to Paradise Island, which had little impact on her. She was outstanding and beautiful with shock on her face. She came in with a book The Identity of Superheroes published by Louis, and asked, "Where is Superman? Where is Louis? My mother is Zeus's lover? I'm actually Zeus's daughter? Is this true? Hera. This is unbelievable." She was shocked. Even she didn't know about this kind of thing. How did Louis know? There were also records about Superman's father, the things on Krypton, Batman's father, the things before his death, and even the fact that Flash's father was killed by Reverse Flash. What is this? Is Lois a prophet? Can she predict the past? Then, Green Lantern, Superman, and Flash appeared one after another. Even if the Flash is really fast, it is impossible to eliminate all the books in the world within 50 seconds, because half a day has passed since the release time. In addition, with the fermentation of the internet, the entire Earth has set off a huge wave of secrets about the identities of superheroes. More than 100 million books have been continuously flowing into the market from all over the world, and it is difficult to destroy them. Lois Lane's name and the portrait printed on the books are also known to all people on Earth. There is a reporter who reveals the secret identities of all superheroes, and is known to all people in the world. The Flash teleported and rushed to the watchtower. With a shocked face, he saw Superman and asked directly, "Superman, was my father really killed by Reverse Flash? Is the report in this book true?" The members of the Justice League, in the meeting room, looked heavy-faced. Superman shook his head, as if he was in a trance. I don't know. While Lois is like this, I don't know what happened to Lois. She has become a different person. Batman said calmly. This book records the life stories of all the superheroes, most of which Batman doesn't even know, which makes Batman quite thrilling. Batman has conducted a relatively detailed investigation of the partners and relatives of the Justice League, and has conducted psychological assessments and behavioral tests. There is absolutely no reason for Louise to know so many things. Even if she is an elite reporter and has won 2 Pulitzer Prizes, she can't directly know the information of many superheroes. What's more, Louise is not a person without measure. We need to find her. Batman stood up. Something must have happened to her, causing her to become a different person. The other members nodded, and after using the watchtower to scan Louise's information on the Earth without success, Batman and Superman came to Louise's apartment. Chapter 367 Phantom Stranger. The sun shone from the windowsill into Louise's apartment, shining warmly on the soft bedding. Superman and Batman, one flew in directly from the windowsill, and the other opened the door at the door and walked in. Batman's eyes swept across the hall, kitchen, bathroom, etc., and finally met Superman, who had already arrived and stood by the bed in Louise's room. Batman glanced at the half apple next to the bedside table, which had begun to turn yellow after a while, and said, "An hour ago, she was still in this apartment." Batman turned on the intelligent detection of his eyes, detected the enzymatic browning time from the half-bitten apple, and conducted a simple DNA test on the saliva left in the apple, and concluded that Louise was still in this room about an hour ago. Superman's face became very ugly, and his eyes were fixed on the half-apple. She is not Louise. Louise will not eat apples in bed, let alone leave half an apple on the bedside table. That will pollute the air in the whole room, and she doesn't like it. Superman gritted his teeth with an ugly face. Under the sunlight shining in from the windowsill, his face full of regret said painfully, "She is not Louise. I know. I have felt it for a long time. Although she is Louise physically, she is not Louise. I asked Zatanna to use magic to help me detect Louise, but it didn't work. Zatanna couldn't detect anything. She is not Louise. Definitely not Louise. Louise would not do such a thing." Superman's face was painful. In his blue eyes, the pain that could not be concealed emanated from his eyes, which was extremely uncomfortable. The tall body, the red cape behind him, couldn't help but tremble in pain. The person he loved most disappeared just like that. Before they came, they used the global search and detection in the watchtower to scan the entire Earth, but did not scan the human body signs that matched Louise. This was simply impossible. The watchtower was designed by Green Lantern, integrating Kryptonian technology provided by Superman, Batman's money, and Cyborg's high-tech network technology. It was easy to search for a person on the ground, especially with so much information about Louis provided by Superman. He still couldn't find him. This obviously made the entire Justice League feel as if there was a huge conspiracy, a huge net covering them. Since Louis' body was invaded, in just a few days, he published the identity secrets of all superheroes and the identity of Louis. This will cause all superheroes to have great opinions about Superman, causing insecurity in their lives and distrust of Superman. At the same time, it will implicate the 7 giants in the Justice League. This can even directly use the protest power of the government and superheroes to defeat the Justice League. Batman's head has begun to speculate what will happen next. How bad it is, the worse it is, the more he speculates. The more he thinks about it, the more he feels that the abyss of darkness is sweeping towards them, and there is no escape. He seems to see that a black curtain has covered the entire Earth. Behind the blue planet Earth, above the starry sky, there seemed to be a huge face, looking down at the Earth, grinning, ready to hold the Earth tightly with both hands, and start a new round of invasion. Tap tap tap. Suddenly, a clanging sound of firm footsteps came over. Superman and Batman looked at each other, and just when Batman wanted to find a corner to hide, Superman shook his head bitterly, indicating that it was not necessary. Batman stopped and narrowed his eyes, and immediately knew that the visitor was someone they knew. The door was opened with a violent snap, and a team of well-equipped American soldiers filed in, pointing guns at Superman and Batman. General Ryan, wearing a majestic military uniform, walked in coldly. His face was solemn and cold, and he stared at Superman with angry eyes, and shouted coldly, "Clark Kent, where is my daughter?" General Ryan's majestic face was filled with anger, and there was some hideous madness in his anger. His daughter reconciled with him a few days ago, and agreed to serve under him and help him. For General Ryan, who is almost middle-aged, the reconciliation between Louise and himself is simply the ultimate happiness in the world. He is extremely happy. He has been waiting for his daughter to complete her last career as a journalist. Of course, the matter has become a big deal. The whole world has begun to discuss the book The Identity of Superheroes published by Louise. General Ryan also knew the news earlier than anyone else, because he has been paying attention to his daughter. This is a disaster for superheroes, but for General Ryan and the US government, it is simply a surprise. Knowing so many superhero identities is enough for them to control most of these superpowered heroes. He started looking for his daughter one step ahead of Superman and Batman, but unexpectedly found that his daughter had disappeared from the world. Soldiers and satellites searched for her, but there was no news and she disappeared. Therefore, he believed that his daughter had fallen into the hands of this group of hypocritical superheroes. General Ryan, we are also looking for Louise. Superman shook his head bitterly, sincerely, and sadly. Louise had indeed disappeared. General Ryan didn't believe it, and immediately became furious. His face was filled with anger and redness. He roared, "Clark, I tell you, let my daughter out, otherwise, I will make your so-called Justice League and superheroes regret it." The soldiers on both sides immediately pulled up the gun safety and pointed their guns at Superman nervously and sternly. In the room, you can hear a pin drop, and the atmosphere is tense and murderous. Batman said in a calm voice, "General Ryan, we are also looking for Louis." "Shut up, Bruce Wayne, go back to your Gotham." General Ryan was cold and angry, and his eyes looked at Batman with cold anger. His eyes stared at Superman's face with bitterness and pain again. Batman's heart sank. The matter was more serious than he thought. The identity behind the superhero was exposed, and the government obviously knew everything. Next, there might even be a conflict between superheroes and the government. This conflict may lead to a more intense riot, and the consequences are difficult to predict. The room was silent at this moment. In the solemn and tense atmosphere, suddenly, a man wearing a dark blue round-brimmed hat, a dark blue cloak, and dressed like a British gentleman in a suit from the old century, suddenly appeared from the ground, rose up, and gradually turned from illusion to reality. The soldiers around were frightened and pointed their guns at him. Only General Ryan, Superman, and Batman looked at him with vigilance. They did not show any panic on the surface, but were secretly guessing, and vigilant in their hearts. The man took off his dark blue round-brimmed hat. His face was vicissitudes, as if he had experienced a long period of vicissitudes. His eyes were calm, with a politeness that was not startled. After taking off his hat with his hands, he said to him very politely, "I came here, hoping it's not too late. Louis has disappeared, turning into wool particles smaller than quarks, spreading throughout the universe under the command of the system. The multiverse needs all the Justice Leagues. The multiverse is crying and wailing, and your existence is in danger. The only emperor is raging, praying, destroying, spreading terror, and devouring the multiverse." Batman and Superman were stunned, and their hearts jumped when they were suddenly spoken to by a stranger who suddenly appeared. "Who are you?" "I am." Suddenly, the man in a blue suit and armor, who looked like a gentleman from the old century, changed his face. His eyes, which had experienced many changes and were as calm as a lake without any ripples, suddenly changed into horror. Congratulations, you have obtained the Multiverse Hero system. Issuing novice tasks, notifying multiverse heroes. The voice of the system suddenly sounded in his mind, causing his face to change drastically. Damn, how could it be? Even he himself was caught. His eyes swept over Superman and Batman. In their puzzled eyes, he said with a very bad face, "There is no time. My clone needs to commit suicide. Remember, be careful of the system. I will contact you." After saying this, the man in a blue suit took out a dagger flashing with magic light and wiped it directly towards his neck. The blood sprayed out, and for a moment, everyone present was stunned. Cut the neck, just because of a disagreement? The mysterious man in blue said something strange and then committed suicide directly? What kind of operation is this? Batman's face changed and his mind had turned to some unknown huge conspiracy. He firmly believed that there must be a huge conspiracy that began to erode them. Batman stepped forward and directly caught the blue man who was about to fall. When he was dying, he quickly asked, "How can we contact you? Who are you?" In Batman's arms, the vitality of the blue man's eyes gradually dissipated. Not only that, his figure began to gradually become transparent. When he gradually became transparent and was about to disappear completely, he looked at Batman with trembling lips, said a few words, and then completely disappeared in Batman's arms, disappeared from this universe. You can call me Phantom Stranger. Chapter 368, Bamulodi Temple. The Temple of Bamulodi, the center of the universe. Starting from the metropolis, the temple rises like a mountain, hazy in the clouds and mist, like a palace in the sky, vaguely visible in the clouds, showing the huge temple. During the day, the sun will shine obliquely into this temple that represents the identity of the god King Bamulodi, which was built according to the blueprint of the Hera terminal. Although the construction plan has just begun in the metropolis, it is enough to see the grandeur and majesty of the initial temple. The unique floating sculpture with will technology reflects the supreme will of the god King Bamulodi, as if a giant is looking down in the universe, spreading his gaze throughout the universe. For all kinds of life on the earth, this huge sense of oppression is the source of their sense of security, and for enemies who have not surrendered to Bamulodi, this is simply a gaze beyond time and space. When you dare to stare at Bamulodi, you will be frightened to the point of kneeling in panic. And when Bamulodi's great eyes pass over your figure, you may turn into chocolate. Metropolis has completely become part of Badi's temple. The design of the palace hall starting from Metropolis has been temporarily completed to serve as a temporary meeting place and rest place for Badi. Expanding outward, the next plan, Hera Terminal has also completed the planning of the entire New Jersey and created the Supreme Temple. In the future, the entire Earth will be completely the Temple of Bamulodi, located at the center of the universe, which just sets off Badi's identity and supreme majesty. Of course, this kind of temple design is actually a joint initiative of Badi's wives, Hera Terminal, and the increasingly large army under his command. The purpose is to show Badi's majesty and the identity of the master of the universe. With Badi's growing power, sweeping across the world, there is no rival in the 8 wastelands. After standing at the top of this universe, and becoming the master of this universe, it can't be just a seat and residence of the Emperor's mansion. That would be disgraceful for the Emperor and the King of Gods who dominate the entire universe. The ruler of the universe, this universe belongs to Badi. What he has, must be the best. What he lives in must be the most magnificent. What he enjoys, must be the best. He is the supreme of this universe. All of Badi's subordinates and wives, Hera Terminal, are aware of Badi's dominance. Therefore, the Temple of Bamulodi was put on the agenda by Hera, and in a short period of time, the blueprint was constructed. It is necessary to build a temple and palace in the center of the universe, and spread the universe with unparalleled majesty, so that the universe will begin to look up to the figure of King Badi from the bottom of their hearts. As for the original Imperial building, it was demolished by Hera Terminal without a sound in just 1 week after Badi came to Louis. Therefore, when Badi was in the newly built palace of Hera Terminal, the floating soft, more than 300 meters of cloud mattress got up. He was a little confused. He slept, and even his own Imperial building was demolished and turned into the Temple of Bamulodi. Badi pinched the floating cloud mattress under his buttocks. It was soft and comfortable. It was a high-tech instrument mattress that was created with magic technology to best suit the user's comfort. It could adjust the strength, temperature, humidity, cool breeze, air conditioning, climate control, etc. However, isn't it a bit exaggerated to be 300 meters long and wide? Badi fell into deep thought. He came down and slept for a few days, and his home was demolished. The Hera terminal did not wake him up at all, because it was unnecessary. It just gently transferred Badi to the floating cloud mattress and let Badi continue to sleep. After Badi woke up, this extraordinary palace, which was at least 1,000 meters high, where he slept, began to adjust the climate. It could adjust all the climate temperatures in all directions according to the moment when Badi just woke up. The wall was directly transparent, allowing Badi to see the beautiful blue sky, sunshine, and the real beautiful buildings outside, the magnificent temple statues and reliefs, etc. The warm breeze blew over Badi's body, bringing him an extremely comfortable feeling, making his whole body and all the pores feel like they were soaking in a hot spring, extremely comfortable. Of course, there are hot springs too. The bathroom is a super large swimming pool, and any form of hot spring can be adjusted. Then, at the edge of about 290 meters, Badi saw the little Hera who was drooling and sleeping in a big litter shape. She was rolling over from time to time. When Badi rushed to her side, she happened to be rolling over in her sleep, and rolled out of the quilt. Badi's big hand grabbed her pants behind her back, lifted up little Hera, and threw her back onto the quilt. The quilt automatically adjusted the impact strength and caught little Hera. Little Hera turned over, murmured in her sleep, rolled over on the floating cloud quilt, and continued to sleep. Ah. Badi, you're awake. On the other side, Jenny stretched her body, squinting her eyes, and woke up hazily. Seeing Badi wake up, she smiled energetically. Then, in different corners, several wives who were tossing and turning in their sleeping positions woke up in different corners. Hey, Badi, are you awake? It's so comfortable. Rolling around is so comfortable. Little Hera is too tired. She doesn't want to wake up after sleeping for 2 days. It's no wonder she's tired. After building the Temple of Metropolis in a few days, let her sleep. Okay. As the women got up in different corners and had breakfast together, Badi learned that they each found something they liked to do, and then they started a new day's work. I'm going to study some dragon cells and create some legendary creatures. The temple cannot be without various legendary creatures. I'm going to create temple plants and flowers. There are still many legendary plants that have not been created. I'm going to train a group of new soldiers to guard. I'm going to build a new temple magic formation. They need to accompany Badi for a long time, and they are particularly concerned about the design of this temple. Pamela required that the temple must have many legendary plants, such as the legendary world tree, peaches, ginseng fruit trees, etc. She felt that plants from myths around the world should appear in the magnificent Bamulodi temple to show the majesty and style of the ruler of the universe. Raven has built the entire Earth into a center of the universe and is strengthening all defense and attack facilities. Jenny believes that is the center of the entire universe. The Bamulodi temple, which has everything, cannot reflect the unique majesty of the entire Earth without some legendary dragons, phoenixes, unicorns and other powerful beasts pulling carts. She is working towards this. In the biological bank that obtained the Krypton gene and many biological gene banks in the universe, the Eastern Dragon and the Western Dragon have been successfully created, and even a huge army of mythical beasts have been formed. Even Jenny and Pamela cooperated to create a strange world tree and a tree man with conscious life, but the tree man's personality was too weird, so they placed him in the back garden of the temple to guard the house. Fyra would wander around the cosmic battlefield from time to time, sometimes commanding and fighting in the universe. When she was tired, she would directly teleport back from other corners of the universe using the transmission channel built by the ability of the lamp ring to sleep. Diana led the Amazon warriors and often fought. She and Fyra were the same kind of people, fighting maniacs. As for the spirits of existence, Kana and Ellie, it was said that they had captured the Black Death Emperor and were playing in a corner of the universe. That's about it. Hera Terminal projected a graceful figure and reported to Badi the recent blueprint of the temple plan. This temple was created by Hera Terminal before Badi came. But Badi did not expect that in just a few days, even the Emperor building had disappeared. Badi nodded and fell into thought. He had no opinion on the temple, so he let his wives and subordinates do it. What was really important was his own strength. He would always go out of the multiverse, go to the realm of God, and compete with many unique gods. The Anti-Monitor side? Badi asked. Chapter 369 Anti-Monitor, Darkseid. Night Owl has passed the message to the Anti-Monitor, Master. The Anti-Monitor doesn't seem to believe you, and doesn't fully agree. Hera replied. It doesn't matter. How is his great cause of destroying the universe going? How many universes has he destroyed? According to the oscillation frequency detection, more than 752 positive and negative universes have been destroyed. The anti-life equation he possesses has caused his power to expand without limit, approaching 1,000th of the power of the quasi-unique god. According to Night Owl's detection, the Anti-Monitor seems to be quite hostile to Darkseid. They seem to have agreed to a war. Badi paused while drinking black tea. He has a grudge against Darkseid? How can he fight? This is not a comic. He can fight whenever he wants. Darkseid is the only existence existing in the realm of God. All Darkseids in the multiverse are his clones. In other words, is the Anti-Monitor competing with a clone? To be honest, if the Anti-Monitor destroys enough cosmic life to make the anti-life equation stronger, he can reach the level of the quasi-unique god. But that level, as the comics say, is to destroy all the universes, destroying only the 5 most fundamental universes, to have the power of a quasi-one god. That level is already the powerful force of all the multiverses combined. Even the one god is not as powerful as the power of all the multiverses combined, and even the one god will be defeated by this power. At this level of quasi-one god, some forces are stronger than the one god, and can defeat the one god. But the one god is a unique existence, who can be defeated, and can never be killed. But the quasi-one god, after his power is exhausted, can still be easily killed. Therefore, basically, Darkseid is invincible. Badi is quite confused. Anti-Monitor, what are you competing with Darkseid for? Then Badi asked curiously, where is Darkseid in my universe? Our universe does have a clone of Darkseid. At the beginning of the universe, Darkseid fought with the Father and defeated the Father, seizing most of the divine willpower of this universe. However, because of the serious damage after the war, it seems that he didn't know where to hide the projection of Apocalypse and recovered his strength in sleep. Have you found him? I want to eat and see him. Badi put down the black tea, rubbing his hands and feeling a little excited. Darkseid, that is the famous supreme tyrant in the universe. He is rampant and unrivaled. Even in the realm of God, he occupies the supreme position of Apocalypse. He is simply the most tyrannical existence among the only gods. In the realm of God, there are a total of 9 supreme parts, which are equivalent to the existence of the universe, and are more magnificent than the universe. Dream, Nightmare, Heaven, Hell, New Genesis, Apocalypse, Celestial City, Hades, and Hell. Each of these parts is larger than any other universe in the multiverse. The universe is derived from them. All the lives are so huge that they are too numerous to be counted. Among them, the only one who can truly rule one is the Tyrant of Apocalypse, Darkseid. Even the inherited Apocalypse is a remarkable existence. Other places like Celestial City, Hell, and Hades do not have a unified supreme god. They are all multiple gods fighting, robbing, and fighting until their heads are broken. There are always gods who have been sleeping for who knows how many years, and then run out, and punch their heads. Even the New Genesis star is not like Apocalypse, where one person has the final say and no one dares to refute. In the realm of God, Darkseid is an existence that cannot be ignored. This is why Badi has not yet gone to the realm of God from the multiverse. He needs to control his own universe, accumulate powerful power, and then bring his Bamulodi universe to the realm of God, to occupy a place there, instead of running over alone, and becoming a lonely person. Of course, by that time, I'm afraid that all the unique gods in the realm of gods and the unique god system will regard him as a thorn in their eyes. I'm afraid that at that time, it will be Badi who will face all the unique gods and really beat them to death. Therefore, when he heard the name of Darkseid, Badi was a little excited and wanted to see the style of this clone. Sooner or later, they will have to fight. There is no reason. I, Bamulodi, just don't like Darkseid and want to beat you to death. It's that simple. I really want to know how Darkseid flavored chocolate feels. No, I guess he will appear only when the anti-monitor has similar power. Hera's projection said lightly. Badi flashed a trace of disappointment, but forget it. Then wait for their decisive battle and ask me to watch the show. Okay, master. After answering Hera, Badi waved his hand to let her retreat. With the great expectation of beating Darkseid into chocolate in the future, he lay down in the floating cloud bedding again, began to strengthen his power, and descended. My father was a scumbag who drank every day and often beat me, my mother and my sister. My mother never came back after being beaten and ran away. I can't blame her. If I could run away, I wouldn't come back. My grandfather was a good man. He was a delivery man for an ice cream shop. He often took my sister and me to the park and bought us ice cream. This may be the only good memory I have of my childhood. But the poor old man died when I was 12 years old. That may be the last time we cried. No matter how that drunkard beat us, we would never cry again. But I decided to leave home and go out into the world. My sister wanted to go with me, but I refused her. Because when I said I was going out, I was actually just being a gangster and stealing some money to pay for her education. My sister is different from me. She is smart and beautiful, and she has the potential to become a professional skater. She should have a bright future. Because of my outstanding personal qualities, I was soon spotted by a promising criminal organization, and they also gave me a gun and goggles. TSK, I just like this uniform, it looks professional. Just when I thought my criminal career was going smoothly, I was tricked by the Flash. The story was this: our unit organized us to rob a bank, but I was sent to prison by the Flash. I vowed to take revenge, and I spent every day in prison studying how to kill the Flash. Later, I found a report. It said that the radiation from the cyclotron could affect the speed of the Flash. Affect the speed of the Flash, that's what I wanted. If he lost his speed, I could beat them both. As long as I put that thing on the gun, the Flash would be dead. So I escaped from the prison smoothly, broke into a laboratory smoothly, and found the cyclotron smoothly. Damn, every time I was going smoothly, someone would come out to mess things up. I was modifying the gun, and a security guard rushed in. Brother, can you come in later? I haven't finished modifying it yet. Besides, I don't want to kill you at all. I had to shoot him with the unmodified gun. But the effect was beyond my expectation. This gun can produce absolute zero, which is much stronger than deceleration. This is completely God's arrangement. After running out of the lab, I found my old goggles and coat, and I started calling myself Captain Cold, because I was a man who could turn the past into absolute zero. Then, I challenged the Flash to a duel, but failed, went to jail, escaped, challenged him again, failed again, and went to jail again. After failing several times, I became depressed. I was so awesome, why couldn't I beat the Flash? Looking at the scumbags in the prison, who were also sent by the Flash, I realized that this couldn't be done alone. It needed to be organized. Chapter 370 Prison Break. Central City. Iron Mountain Prison. Snart is different from other prison criminals. He has experienced several prison escapes and was destroyed and captured by the Flash. Therefore, he is fortunate to no longer enjoy the time of being out in Iron Mountain Prison. Moreover, the small prison space where he is located is a special space which uses superconductor walls to trap superpower criminals. Although Snart has no superpowers, his behavior and multiple prison escapes have increased his prison time to 130 years. Only this kind of cell can trap him. Next to him, other superpower criminals in Central City also exist here. Every superpower here was captured by the Flash. Almost everyone had abilities beyond ordinary people, and then ran to rob banks, and did some illegal things, and was caught by the Flash. They were extremely unlucky. He just robbed banks, got some money, and made his life better, and he didn't destroy the world. It was really fucked up. Badi saw the bored and lifeless superpower prisoners through the glass superconductor. Heatwave, Weather Wizard, Mirror Master, Trickster, Boomerang Captain, Peak Man. He had seen and dealt with a few of them before. Of course, that kind of dealing was cursing, especially Heatwave. It was not a good thing to fight with each other because they were dissatisfied with each other. Bati's eyes swept over these villains one by one, and there were also some superpowered villains that he didn't understand. After all, he had been captured for a while. It was normal for some newcomers to forget their past glorious deeds. They escaped from prison several times and were captured by the Flash again and not pay homage to him. When Bati's eyes swept over many villains, a few of them glared back fiercely, indicating that even in a special superpowered prison, they thought their eyes were still intimidating. The superconductor glass blocked their voices, and their words could not be heard here. "It's time to eat." The speaker in the corner of the prison room spoke. Immediately, food was transported in by tracks from the pipeline that cut off several levels. Some stewed potatoes, vegetables, steamed buns, and a big orange. Not bad. Many bored and dead villains came to their senses from their beds, took the food and started eating. Bati took the plate, crossed his legs on the bed beside him, and kept looking at the outside environment, observing the rotation time of the two cameras. He picked up the steamed bun and ate it. The steamed bun was dry and had no good taste. His face was calm, his eyes were glimpsed, observing and eating. In the next period of time, a lot of energy will be consumed. After finishing lunch, he ate the big orange and threw it on the plate. Bati put the plate on the transmission track and let it be automatically transmitted. Knock knock. The camera turned around and did not take a picture of Bati's prison. Bati knocked on the superconductor glass wall twice, attracting the attention of all the bored villains who were looking at others and glaring at each other. Although no sound could be heard, Bati's actions were obviously intended to attract their attention. Heatwave, retarded. Captain Boomerang. What for? The trickster raised his eyebrows and his eyes sparkled. Snart was a habitual prisoner who escaped from prison. He was smart and had an idea. The weather wizard was in a state of panic. When the camera quickly turned around and faced Bati, Bati stopped and did not move. Once the camera left him, Bati used his body to block the camera in his prison room. He quickly lowered his head and blew a puff of white mist on the glass wall. He wrote a few simple English letters "prison break" in reverse so that many villains who were looking at him could see it. Then when the camera turned around, he wiped it off with his hand, pretending nothing happened. Many villains looked at each other in surprise. They knew Snart's history of escaping prison. Ordinary prisons could not hold him, so they put him in the superpowered prison. No one has ever been able to escape from this special superpowered prison. It is different from ordinary prisons. This kind of prison is designed to imprison people with special abilities like them. It is perfected to the extreme and there is no way they can escape. Okay, Snart has a good idea. I support it spiritually. What are you going to do? Take me with you. The villains looked at each other in bewilderment and their minds became active. If they can escape from prison, please take me with you. Go out and rob a bank, get rich, eat delicious food and drink spicy drinks, sleep with beautiful women every night. Who would want to stay in Tishan prison? They are all extraordinary people with superpowers. They think they are superior to ordinary people. How can they endure the prison environment? If they stay there any longer, they will get moldy. Seeing Snart preparing to escape from prison, everyone was excited and ready to get bloodshot. Their eyes were bulging and bloodshot. Escape from prison. They must escape from prison. However, how could the escape they expected be so fast? Everyone's eyes were focused on Snart, and they saw Snart suddenly fall to the ground, twitching like a seizure. His eyes were white, and he was foaming at the mouth. This is pretending to be sick and transferred to the state prison for sick prisoners for special treatment, or notify the family to apply for medical parole. This is too fast. Where does the foaming at the mouth come from? Monitoring room. In fact, every superpower prison has an advanced device for simple inspection of prisoners. In the monitoring room, you can see the physical health of these superpower criminals. There have been superpowers who pretended to be sick and wanted to escape from the prison, but they were discovered. Now they are in the deep isolation area and are under stricter guard. The alarm sounded harshly. Master, the simple inspection in the R15 superpower prison found that the prisoner fainted on the ground, his limbs were twitching, his eyes were looking up, and he was drooling. It is suspected that he had a sudden epilepsy. The prison guard in charge of monitoring reported. On the other side, the fat prison chief with a slightly protruding belly and a fat body frowned. Epilepsy will not directly lead to death, but if there is no timely rescue during an epileptic attack, there is a chance of death, but the chance is very small. If it is pretending, and it is another escape from prison, then it will be troublesome. Thinking that he has to bear more responsibilities, he did not make more arrangements. The chief inspector of the prison sneered. He is pretending to be sick and wants to escape from prison. Keep an eye on him. Director, it doesn't look like it. He has had epilepsy for more than 3 minutes. His life will be in danger. His vital signs are beginning to decline. The prisoner is gradually slowing down his convulsions. Director, the patient's vital signs have declined significantly. Director, his vital signs are beginning to disappear. The prison guard reported with a nervous look on his face. It looked like he was going to die. The chief inspector looked at the screen. Snot was twitching absent-mindedly from time to time. Even if he was pretending, it looked too real. Where did the foam at the mouth come from? His eyes were rolling back, and his limbs were twitching subconsciously. His fat face was distorted, and he gritted his teeth. Damn it. He keeps causing trouble for me. Bring the emergency doctor and weapons to prevent jailbreak. Open the super prison, and give him first aid. Chapter 371 The rogue gang is established. The prison warden was quite smart and afraid of death. He led a team of 8 prison guards, armed with conventional weapons, M4 machine guns, and wearing dignified uniforms, plus 2 emergency doctors and nurses, to the outside of the superpowered prison. When he saw Snot lying on the ground twitching with a hopeless face, he felt a toothache. If this guy died, he would be responsible, because prisoners also have human rights. If he was paralyzed, he would also be blamed for not paying attention to the prisoner's body in time. If he didn't die and escaped from prison, it would be even worse. No matter what he did, he felt sweat on his head. He hid behind the prison guards and shouted urgently, "Be careful, doctors give first aid, open the superpowered prison." The glass curtain wall of the prison slowly opened, and several prison guards stared at Badi's twitching body with guns. The other prisoners in the superpowered prison almost popped their eyes out. It was so easy to open the superpowered prison. It's not that no one in the superpowered prison has tried to pretend to be sick and then make trouble. However, the superpowered prison is equipped with an advanced detection system, and it is quite easy to tell whether you are pretending or not. Sometimes, if it is detected that someone is pretending, the police inspector will not bother to pay attention and let him pretend for a few days, and then he will recover with a curse, continue to eat well, and stay in the prison in a daze, and lose his temper, and his health is extremely good. There is no one who pretends so well as Snot, and is about to die, and no one can pretend to this extent. The police inspector was worried and ordered the emergency doctor to come in and take a look. He was at a distance, holding a pistol and guarding, and his heart was raised. His heartbeat is irregular, and it is gradually getting weaker. His physical characteristics are declining. He is really dying. We need to call an ambulance immediately. The doctor listened to Snot's chest with a stethoscope, flipped his eyelids, and shouted loudly that this prisoner was really dying, and he should be sent to the hospital for emergency treatment. As he spoke, he began to do cardiopulmonary resuscitation to strengthen his cardiopulmonary capacity, hoping that he could make it to the operating room. The chief of police relaxed his heart and then lifted it up again and felt his teeth ache. It would be better if it wasn't a jailbreak, but if someone really died, it was also a responsibility, which was really a headache. Quick, carry him out on a stretcher. We can't wait for the ambulance. Take him in a jeep and send him directly to the hospital. The chief of police put away his pistol and shouted quickly. Several prison guards around him put down their guns. 2 of them started to look for a stretcher, and some began to carry Snot out under the instructions of the emergency doctor. While they were busy, suddenly, the 2 soldiers closest to Badi suddenly fell down. Badi seemed to turn into a residual image and passed in front of the chief of police's sight. Badi was like an invisible ninja in a movie, raising his hand knife and walking easily in the corner of their sight, giving people an extremely mysterious and rhythmic killing. Of course, this was not a killing. Badi just quickly walked beside them, raised his hand knives with both hands, and knocked them out one by one. When the police chief felt a chill in his heart, Badi was already in front of him, slowly putting away his hand knife. The doctors and nurses beside him, as well as the remaining armed prison guards, had fainted one by one and fell to the ground. "Thank you, police chief." Badi smiled in front of him and thanked him. The fat police chief suddenly broke out in cold sweat from his back, and his body trembled. His fingertips were on the gun handle of the holster, and he didn't dare to pull it out, because Badi was too fast. In an instant, the hand knife rose and fell, and he couldn't see clearly. He killed 8 people including doctors and nurses. He asked himself if his speed was not as fast as Badi's, and he was left with a trembling fat body in cold sweat, stiff in place. The people in the super prison all looked at it with bright eyes and extremely excited faces. Next, Badi kindly and friendly pulled the sweaty police chief and gradually pressed the fingerprints to release everyone in the super prison. "Very good, Snart. Although I don't like you, I owe you one." Heatwave twisted his neck full of burn scars, walked out of the super prison with a somewhat unwilling face, and said to Badi, "Here, he and Snart have the biggest difference. After all, one likes to play with fire, and the other likes ice. Both temperament and hobbies are directly opposite." All the people in the super prison were released by Badi one after another. Badi looked around at the people who were rejoicing, and said calmly, "I need to create an organization to deal with the Flash. You are all captured by the Flash, and you also have abilities, so you can join my organization." "Okay, I'll join." The first to bear the brunt was the trickster, a young, smiling and extremely smart guy, who directly agreed to join the organization Badi mentioned. For him, this would be an extremely fun and interesting thing to target the Flash. "Okay, consider it as repaying your favor," Captain Boomerang replied with a beard and a grin. "Okay, I will cooperate with you for the time being," Heatwave said, holding his arms. "As long as the Flash exists, it will be difficult for us to gain a foothold in Central City. As long as I can get out of Iron Mountain Prison, I will also agree to join." The Thin Weather Wizard also said the same thing. "Who do you think you are?" An arrogant voice came from a black man with unfriendly eyes and strange abilities. Even though Badi rescued him, he did not show any gratitude, but laughed coldly with his thick lips. "From today on, your boss is me." Before he finished speaking, Badi took a step forward, and in just 2 steps, he had already stepped in front of him. Before he could activate his ability, he had already broken his neck, causing him to fall to the ground with ferocious eyes. "I don't want to force you with violence. Does anyone have any objections?" Badi let go, letting the body fall at his feet, and said indifferently. The remaining people took a breath of cold air, their pupils shrank, and no longer had any objections, so they followed Badi's words and temporarily joined his organization. Those who did not join were already dead. Soon, a huge alarm sounded in the prison. The police chief leaned against the wall, almost pissing himself. "I wasn't the one who sounded the alarm. I know, I don't want to kill anyone unless necessary." Badi smiled faintly, approached the already frightened and trembling police chief, and chopped his neck with a knife, knocking him out. Turning around, he looked at the group of newly recruited men, leading the way forward and carrying out the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth seasons of Prison Break. It was just a period of familiarity. After a preliminary understanding of each other, the trickster asked, "Boss, what is the name of our organization?" "We are all a group of scoundrels. Let's call it the Rogue Gang." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 372. The Rogue Gang is finished. Central City. A flash of light along the streets and alleys, speeding past. VIP room of the 5-star hotel in Central City. Captain Cold, Heatwave, Mirror Master, Trickster, Captain Boomerang, Weather Wizard, Peak Man. Beside the computer. Boss, you are right. The Flash is looking for us everywhere. All our former residences have been searched by the Flash. The trickster was excited, hacking into the city prism system, and saw the remaining figure of the Flash from the sky through the monitors and monitoring satellites. This is a very normal thing. We released all the prisoners in the prison to keep him busy. It is normal for him to have ideas about us. Captain Boomerang rubbed his dining hands and said. His boomerang was not on him, so he could only use the dining knife as a throwing knife weapon temporarily, and he felt extremely uncomfortable. But, in just half an hour, all the prisoners in the prison had been arrested by him. This speed is really shocking. The weather wizard shook his head. Even though he had the ability to control the weather, he felt shocked. The speed of the Flash was too fast. We have to think of a way. We all have outstanding talents. We are handsome, and we speak well. Central City should be ruled by us. We can't let the Flash keep hindering us. Mirror Master said. He was able to enter the mirror space, and it was the same way. Only then could they escape from the prison. Under the arrangement of Badi, everyone evacuated together and avoided the search of the Flash. How do we deal with the Flash? He is so fast. I was caught in an instant, without the slightest resistance. Heatwave inserted a Swiss Army knife into his boots. His face twisted with burn marks. Ate a bite of pineapple bread roughly. Picked up the beer. Drank a mouthful directly. And squinted his eyes in enjoyment. Everyone was silent, looking at Badi, who was at the curtain, lifting the curtain to look outside. Each of them had been defeated by the Flash several times, and they fully understood the power of the Flash. In addition, Badi initially gained their recognition in the process of leading them out of prison. They were still willing to listen to some effective suggestions from the boss of the rogue gang. Of course, if they failed, they would go their separate ways. For the Flash, this is really not like in the comics, where they can resist, as if it were a joke. The reality is that the Flash has super speed, can play tricks on them, and can easily catch them. It is not difficult at all. If you have the speed of the Flash, it will be much easier to deal with each member of the rogues. Their reflexes are not able to react, and they are completely unable to fight against the Flash. Badi was by the window, like a secret agent, lifting one side of the thick carved curtains, and looking at Midtown. The sunlight outside Midtown shone in, and shone on his face. His eyes saw the remaining torrent of lightning, flickering, and disappearing in the distance of Midtown. That was the remaining afterglow of the Flash's passing. He lowered the curtains, and the room suddenly became much darker. I need to get my freezing gun back. The freezing gun can stop the speed of the Flash. Trickster, Boomerang, you all need to get your weapons back and fight the Flash in the best condition. Here, only Mirror Master, Weather Wizard, Heatwave, and Peakman have superpowers. Of course, their superpowers are not very outstanding. Even the current Snart can defeat them. Of course, the current Snart is Badi, and the utilization rate of his body has reached an extreme. Just using his hands and feet is enough to deal with them. This is also the reason why they came out of prison and were willing to obey Badi's orders. Maybe we can use some hostages to threaten the Flash to surrender. He is very kind, isn't he? Peakman said nonchalantly. Badi glanced at everyone present. Let me tell you about the gang rules. Don't kill people unless it's absolutely necessary, because it will attract the attention of more superheroes. I don't want a Superman to fly from the sky to punish us. Don't take drugs. Don't hurt women or children. Avoid cruel and immature behavior. Members of the gang are not allowed to kill each other. If someone violates the rules, the rogues will punish him without hesitation. Just these points. Does anyone have any opinions? Badi set the original tone of the rogues. This was also the original rule of the rogues, and Badi had no intention of changing it. Everyone looked at each other and nodded reluctantly. It was indeed not appropriate for them to be too arrogant when they were in Midtown. Attracting aliens would be even more troublesome. Everyone was seeking money, so there was no need to make such a big deal. Just stop the Flash. In addition, everyone thought they were all robbers with style, and they were even more reluctant to deal with children and women. Initially, these gang rules were recognized and nodded one by one, indicating that there was no problem. If there was a problem, they could just disband. Everyone thought so. Further standardize the gang rules of the rogues. After seeing that everyone agrees, Badi's soul feels relieved. Many of Snart's last wishes have been fulfilled. What remains is to defeat the Flash. So, under Bati's command, a plan to retake the equipment was carried out. After Snart was tried by the court, his own freezing gun had been imprisoned in the dangerous equipment room by the court, along with Captain Boomerang and the trickster's props, which were all caught by the Flash and sent to the court for trial, and were stripped of everything. The trickster is not bad. He is very smart and always uses many gadgets to fight. He also has other secret bases, which hide many gadgets, and can be used for battle at any time. Snart's freezing gun and Captain Boomerang's boomerang are both specially made, and they need to rob a wave of courts. Then, Bati ordered the clever trickster to start making strong mucus that could restrain the speed of the Flash, and to purchase some high-tech items on the black market. Bati would create an electrostatic force field, which would then limit the speed of the Flash. Immediately, the entire gang of rogues split into 3 groups. The first group was led by the Mirror Master and the Weather Wizard to rob the Citibank in Midtown. Bati specifically picked a bank with a lot of mirrors and asked them to implement the plan to attract the attention of the Flash. The second group was led by the Trickster and the Heatwave to the black market to purchase what Bati needed. The third group was led by Bati, Captain Boomerang, and the Peak Man, who went to the dangerous equipment room of the court together to steal their equipment. Everything went smoothly. The Flash's attention was attracted by the Mirror Master, who hid back in the mirror as soon as the Flash appeared and was not captured by the Flash again. 1 week later, the rogues officially challenged the Flash. After Captain Boomerang, Trickster, Heatwave, and Peak Man were defeated one after another, Badi escaped and lured the Flash to the planned destination. He used his own high-speed frequency to generate an electrostatic force field explosion, paralyzing the Flash. In this way, the last wish was fulfilled. This feels boring, and the rogues incident is over. Chapter 373 Arrival. Bati opened his eyes and came back to his senses. The several times he descended made him feel a little interesting, and he saw the differences of this universe in various ways. The Anti-Monitor's destruction of the universe is still in progress, and it will take a long time. There is still a long time until the final battle between her and Darkseid. Bati happened to be very interested in descending, and he gave instructions to Hera Terminal about various matters. Without wasting time again, he smiled slightly, closed his eyes, and chose to descend again. Next, Bati descended nearly dozens of times, descending to different characters. Each of them had strange wishes. For example, once Bati descended to Green Lantern, Mogo. Mogo is the Green Lantern of Sector 20-61. It is a planet, a world with life, and a glorious Green Lantern. Because of its special identity and huge size, it has very powerful power, and can be said to be the largest existence among Green Lanterns. Its wish is to swear to protect the universe well. Isn't this a fucking pitfall? What does it mean to protect the universe? This is simply a wish without limit in time. Finally, during a Street Lantern Corps attack on the Earth, Bati saw Superman unifying the Earth. Unfortunately, it was the comic of the Injustice League. The Guardians of the Universe led the Green Lantern Corps to fight Superman. Bati was surprised and took the lead. With Mogo's planetary body, no one could stop him. He shouted, "For the peace of the universe, for the Green Lantern Corps." Then he hit the Earth with his body, the center of the entire universe, and the Earth exploded immediately. Bati completed the task immediately, because in the explosion of the Earth, no one wanted to rule the Earth. Everyone was committed to restoring the Earth and contributing to the co-construction of the new Earth. Superman's Injustice League became the master of part of the new Earth and began to cooperate with other Olympus gods and the Street Lantern Corps in a friendly manner. In this regard, with this result, Mogo's wish passed away very satisfied, and Bati completed another descent. This descent is a more interesting experience. In addition, Bati has also descended on the characters of TV series, which can be regarded as unusually fresh. That time, he descended on the TV series of Supergirl, and descended on Win Short, a computer geek who had a crush on Supergirl. His last wish was to make Supergirl fall in love with him. On that occasion, Bati transformed into a mysterious superhero to help Supergirl, and then let Supergirl gradually unveil her mystery and become the guardian of the city with him step by step. However, in the end, even Bati was confused. Supergirl did not perform as the original TV series did and fell in love with the original few people. Instead, she fell in love with the TV series Flash, who traveled to this world. As a result, Badi's last wish failed, which was extremely rare. After dozens of dissents, Badi basically summarized the differences between the multiverse. Basically, this is the DC multiverse. In other words, the multiverse created by God is actually the same as the comics, TV series, and animations he has seen. Once Badi descended on Superman, and then Doomsday came to the Earth. At that time, Badi knew. This is the cartoon. It is the 70th anniversary of Superman. Superman died at the hands of Doomsday. After knowing this, Badi was of course very happy to go and die to fulfill his last wish. From then on, we also know that the various advents are really novel and interesting. Of course, there are other ones that are not suitable for the DC universe, but they are rare. Badi's advents are still rare, and we haven't seen many of them. Of course, the most interesting one is probably that time he descended directly to Iron Man. Yes, that is the Iron Man of Marvel. DC once had a comic book about the Justice League versus the Avengers. Badi descended directly into it and became Iron Man. He fought against all the members of the Justice League and turned the world upside down. During that advent, Badi was fortunate enough to see Darkseid's clone compete with Thanos, snatch Thanos' Infinity Gauntlet to play with, and finally the Infinity Gauntlet fell into Badi's hands and was developed by Badi into the Infinite Universe Technology Devourer. In the end, there was no way to complete the mission. Badi became the last enemy of both parties, the big boss, and was targeted by the Justice League and the Avengers. That was one of the few missions that failed. He played too much. Badi felt that he was Constantine's despicable and shameless. He was also a woman, became a member of Paradise Island, and defeated Diana. He even became Hal Jordan, and designed the Justice League Watchtower himself. He also became Cyborg's father like a kind father. He also taught Green Arrow archery. So far, Badi has unknowingly descended on other universe missions hundreds of times, obtained a lot of information, and uniquely transformed a lot of his own information, which strengthened his own strength. It is worth mentioning that, even though Badi has descended on hundreds of universes, he still did not find that the Phantom Stranger was targeting him and was recruiting Justice League and manpower in the multiverse to prepare for his plan to deal with him. Because the universe is too infinite and too many, it has only been more than 100 times, and Badi has no chance of bumping into them again. So in the blink of an eye, several years have passed. Until now, Badi has not known that a weakling is uniting the Justice League of the multiverse and other powerful figures to deal with him. Hey. Badi stretched on the white and soft floating cloud mattress, yawned, twisted his neck, that had been stiff for a long time, and felt quite helpless. It's getting easier and easier. Badi sighed. He descended most in the multiverse as a superhero, always protecting the Earth and protecting mankind. After Badi unified the Earth for the 4th time, he formulated various perfect measures and became the Superman of the Injustice League. After completely bringing peace to the Earth, he completed his mission. At the same time, he also brought a little boredom to the days of ruling the Earth. After all, he has ruled the Earth for more than 5 times, and he did a good job every time. There is no love for ruling the Earth. Badi is tired of this last wish. I hope to do something new next time. Badi was helpless. After chatting with many wives and checking the progress of the temple work on his planet, he lay on the mattress again and fell asleep. You are not Barry. You are not the Flash. I do not recognize you as Barry. You are just a time remnant. You are a time remnant. You are not Barry. In his mind, all the familiar, relatives, and friends are rejecting him, denying him, and not recognizing him. Their eyes terrified him. He was sinking in the Speed Force, being abandoned by all his relatives and friends in an infinite cycle, and falling into the abyss of despair. I'm Saboteur. In the next 1 or 2 days, there may be a super typhoon that is rare in a century blowing into my city. I may be blown away, and the city may lose power, so I can't update. Let me explain first. This is a natural disaster. It is inevitable. As for adding more chapters, please don't dream. Just read it calmly. Chapter 374 Saboteur's Speed Force Prison. In the Speed Force. This is the prison of the Speed Force. Interstellar laboratory. Badi saw the appearance of the present through the smooth glass wall of the chemical room. He was tall and thin, with a serious burn scar starting from the right cheek of his eye, which gave the originally sunny and cheerful appearance a somewhat ferocious cold and evil feeling. In his eyes, there was a strong sense of resentment and pain. All of this came from the people around him, who thought he was an alien, a Flash who was not their friend, a Flash who was not the Flash. You want to kill your wife? Badi raised his eyebrows, scratched the roots of his chin with his fingers, and looked at his extremely evil appearance of Savitar. Savitar's last wish was to kill all his relatives who discriminated against him, and then become a god. Because gods have no pain. He has been tortured in the Speed Force prison, and reincarnated countless times of pain, so his mind has been twisted to the point where he can't bear it. Badi turned around, and walked out of the slightly cold chemical room. He walked outside. The slightly stuffy cold air rushed in and slightly blocked his skin pores. A warm temperature difference appeared on his body, as if his skin was blocked by a black cloth. It's really the same. Badi rubbed the skin on his hands, and the fuzz slightly adapted. When the goosebumps from the temperature difference just rose, he controlled himself, and made the goosebumps return to normal, and the fuzz softened. This is the Speed Force prison. The Speed Force simulated the original Central City in the TV series, as well as the Flash's base, the Star Lab. Here, reincarnation is carried out, and Savitar is imprisoned. Not only that, the Speed Force was very considerate, and created all of Savitar's previous relatives, so that he was constantly under the discriminatory gaze of these familiar relatives. This is much more miserable than the unlimited prison created by Badi when he was trapped in the Speed Force. Savitar has to endure all the pain of the past all the time, from the disapproval and denial of his beloved, who thinks he is a monster, the resistance of his adoptive father, who does not recognize him as his son, the discomfort and suspicion among his colleagues, and all kinds of discriminatory eyes, which have defeated the kind-hearted Flash. This is not just once. It is infinite times, which is simply a cruel infinite reincarnation of discrimination, driving this Flash crazy, and forcing him to become a villain. Compared with Badi's experience, there are some similarities and differences. It's just that Badi succeeded in killing his wife, traveled through another world, and reincarnated in extreme pain in the blackening. With a strong will, he even overthrew the dark side, used his intelligence and strength to dominate the universe, became the only god, reached the peak of life, and even had the power to disrupt the multiverse. Savitar is reincarnating all the time, being toyed with by the Speed Force, seemingly successful, but finally failed, and was destined to fail. Of course, Badi has come, and Savitar is destined to have a different future. Tap, tap, tap. Badi walked in the empty corridor, his footsteps echoing in the empty corridor. He walked past Cisco's laboratory. He walked past Caitlin's biological laboratory. He walked past many familiar laboratories, and came straight to the control room hall. Badi did not deliberately control his footsteps, but the voices in the control room hall were obviously a bit louder, so no one heard Badi's voice coming, and they continued to talk. We shouldn't treat him like this. He is also Barry. Sorry, Caitlin, I can't accept that this person is Barry, not the real Barry. I can't hug him. He is just a time remnant. I don't know how to face him. He is not Barry. It's hard for me to face this Barry. He is not my son. But, next to the monitoring console, Joe, Caitlin, Iris, and Cisco were helplessly discussing this time remnant that suddenly appeared. They did not admit that this Barry was the Barry they knew, but discussed it here with a mood of avoidance and helplessness. Only Caitlin had a look of pity on her face, because it was too pitiful. Everyone knew that the remnant of time was also Barry, but they didn't treat Barry as Barry. The alienation, avoidance, and unnatural flickering of faces between relatives always made people feel desperate. Caitlin had no way to refute it. It was indeed difficult for people to imagine that this Barry with burns on his face was Barry, the handsome and kind Flash. Even Barry's favorite childhood sweetheart, Iris, could not accept this Barry. Caitlin could only sigh helplessly. When Badi stepped on the footsteps and appeared at the door, the voices of Barry's lover, adoptive father, and even good friend Cisco inside suddenly stopped. The cold air in the room seemed to be filled with slow sounds. The adoptive father, Joe, who was originally sitting on the chair, twisted his body unnaturally, and his eyes could not look directly at Barry with burn scars. "There's something else to do at the newspaper." Iris's expression changed unnaturally. Her body stiffened for a moment, and she forced a smile, and picked up the coat beside her. She shrugged and walked out of the control room hall. When she passed by Barry, she pretended to be helpless, and left the control room hall quickly. Barry watched this former lover of Barry leave him quickly with disgust. The figure who was uncomfortable, afraid of himself, avoiding himself, and the dearest lover did not dare to hug him left quickly with the high heels, stepping. No wonder Savita wanted to kill his wife. Barry thought, although his eyes were indifferent, and he didn't take it to heart, but the burnt part of his right eye cheek obviously gave him a ferocious and crazy angry look. "I just happened to go to the police station too." Joe's dark face was also unnatural, as if he was thinking, and nodded, not daring to look at Barry, as if a big case had happened in the police station. He nodded to Barry, and hurriedly left the control room hall. "I'll go check out the lab." Cisco lowered his head, and followed them out. It was only a few seconds of silence, and Cisco, Joe, and Iris had no way to face this Barry, so they left the control room. Badi glanced at their backs silently. This was the pain that Barry, who had loved them countless times, had endured, not being recognized by the people he loved, being abandoned by his adoptive father, and his friends not daring to face him. He was a monster. Badi shook his head. "No wonder Savita wanted to kill you. It was normal to turn evil after experiencing such things millions of times." Badi turned his head and looked at Caitlin, who was standing aside, her body stiff, her fingers tangled together at a loss. "Caitlin, don't you have to leave?" Badi asked with a smile, but the burn marks on his right cheek made him look unsettlingly fierce even when he smiled, like an evil person, making it hard to look directly at him. Caitlin's body trembled stiffly, and then she said nervously, "No, no." After that, she glanced at Barry with the corner of her eyes, as if she felt Barry's loneliness at the moment, and couldn't help saying, "They didn't mean it, they just haven't adapted yet." After saying a few words, she seemed to let go of her heart, and looked at Barry with unbearable eyes and said, "Barry, don't blame them, they just. At the end, Caitlin frowned her beautiful face, clenched her fists, and couldn't say what they just what. Because their escape, avoidance, and not recognizing Barry as Barry had deeply hurt Barry, and there is no way to heal. Barry looked at Caitlin, who kept explaining with a smile. In the Flash TV series, Caitlin and Barry actually seem to be so close, giving people the feeling that they should be a couple. Whether it is supporting Barry to be the Flash, becoming Barry's doctor, treating Barry every time he was injured, and in the Star Lab, the two of them give people the feeling that they should be a couple. Compared to being with Iris, they are a perfect match. Even when Savita's true body appeared, Caitlin's second personality, Frost Killer, directly defected to Savita's side, and became Savita's subordinate, which is even more ambiguous. It seems that the two of them have a subtle feeling that cannot be revealed, but they are not a pair. Resuming the update, it will be updated once in the next few days. Chapter 375, Phantom Stranger in the Flash. Central City. At night, in the glittering Central City, a yellow lightning flashed with dazzling brilliance, drawing a long yellow arc, running across First Avenue, taking over the lane with endless traffic, bringing a gust of air that lifted hair, and rushed towards the Star Lab. The yellow flashpoint appeared in the hall of the Star Lab in an instant, and the sudden strong wind blew the hair of everyone present violently, and the paper flew up with a whistling sound. Everyone, the alchemist escaped. Fortunately, I snatched his philosopher's stone. The Flash held up a stone box, which seemed to have a different attraction, luring the attention of everyone in the control room hall. This is good. We can at least prevent more transformed people from appearing in Central City. Barry's adoptive father, Joe, said. This is not good. The root of the matter has not been resolved, or he has a second philosopher's stone. Or is there another way? So, let me test this thing. Cisco reached out, took the stone box, frowned slightly, and was stunned for a moment. Faintly, there seemed to be a voice lingering in his ears, as if his brother was calling him. In the Flash TV series, at the end of the second season, after Barry ran out of the Flashpoint and ran back to the world, he indirectly caused the death of Cisco's brother. Cisco has always been worried about this. So far, it's still good. We finally got back in the battle against the Alchemist, Caitlin said. Not necessarily. The Alchemist has been summoning the master behind him. This is the existence we need to guard against. The Flash took off his hood and said with a slightly worried face. So, how should we guard against it? Iris said. Everyone looked at each other. They didn't even know what the existence that the Alchemist had been trying to summon was. How to guard against it, they really didn't have any good ideas. Badi didn't let Savitar appear according to the progress of the TV series, but pushed forward, omitting a lot of unnecessary plots. When it was about to start, he controlled the Alchemist to awaken the superpowers of the Flashpoint in Midtown, attracting the attention of the Flash, making them work hard, and easily obtained the Philosopher's Stone under Badi's arrangement. In the end, he needs this Philosopher's Stone, which is the calcified Speed Force, as a key and throw it into the Speed Force to free himself. In the original series, Wally threw it in, but now, Badi arranged for the Flash to throw it in to let himself out. If it were according to the interpersonal relationships in the TV series, Badi would undoubtedly be able to easily fulfill his last wish this time. However, the sound of a cane hitting the ground resounded throughout the Star Lab. Everyone in the control room hall looked at the door at the same time. A man in a blue suit, a half cloak, a bowler hat, and a black classical cane, who looked like an old-time British gentleman, appeared at the door, causing their suspicion. Who are you? How did you get in? Fuck. I have reinforced the security defense system several times. Why is the Star Lab always invaded? In an instant, everyone in the control room hall looked at Cisco and Phantom Stranger with a weird look on their faces. Joe pulled out a pistol from his waist, pulled his daughter behind him with one hand, and stared at Phantom Stranger with a stern face. Cisco and Caitlin looked very strange. The defense system of the Star Lab seemed to be made of paper. It was always invaded, never defended. After the Phantom Stranger glanced at the Flash, Cisco, and Caitlin, he took off his hat, which scared everyone to think that he was going to attack. I'm sorry to bother you. I didn't expect that the Flash in this universe would form a team with Shockwave and Killer Frost. The Phantom Stranger put his hat down to his stomach, bowed his body, and apologized. The Flash, Caitlin, and Cisco looked at each other with strange faces and asked in confusion, "You don't look like someone who would cause trouble for us. Is there anything I can help you with?" The Phantom Stranger's appearance did not look like someone who was looking for trouble. He was also polite and well-mannered, which made people feel very comfortable. Of course, except for not informing them and directly invading the Star Lab, everything else was fine. The Phantom Stranger nodded. "I do need your help with something." The Flash and the others looked at each other. "You are so rude. This universe has not been invaded yet. I need your help. The multiverse needs your help. Gather all the power to fight against a newly born god. This is to save the multiverse, and also to save yourselves." Phantom Stranger said, neither hurriedly nor slowly, giving people a heavy feeling. This is a very important matter. The Star Lab seemed to feel the extreme seriousness of the situation. The heavy pressure brought by the Phantom Stranger was like a mountain, making them feel breathless. However, in fact, the people in the Star Lab did not have a clear understanding of what the Phantom Stranger said. Suddenly someone came out and asked you to save the universe. What does this mean? Several people frowned, confused, and refused. "I'm sorry, I don't know the truth of the matter. If you have any difficulties, I'm happy to help you. We are also dealing with enemies here." The Flash did not directly answer to help the Phantom Stranger. He was cautious about this sudden request for help, because in the second season, he was deceived, and his father died because he trusted outsiders from other worlds. By now, he had learned enough lessons that he could not easily trust others. "I understand, then." Phantom Stranger nodded and looked at the Flash with an unfathomable look. Then, he raised his cane and cast a magic spell. A finger-sized light spot hit the Flash's forehead. This scene frightened the Flash so much that he used his Speed Force and tried to escape with arcs of electricity. However, the light spot was too fast and the next moment, it had already penetrated from his forehead into his head. This is a multiverse contact room. It will contact the flashes of other multiverses. You can strengthen your strength here, communicate with other flashes, and understand who the future enemy is. The Flash team in the control room of the entire hall was startled and stared at Phantom Stranger in shock. Phantom Stranger smiled faintly, his eyes swept over the flashes, and then swept to the magic stone box, and said, "I'll give you a little advice. Inside this magic stone box is calcified speed force. As long as the speed force channel is not opened, this key should not be able to release the enemy you mentioned." His figure gradually faded, began to become transparent, and disappeared in the interstellar laboratory. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.